Right. Stream's public. We're good to go. I can't believe I put this off for like 2 whole months. This has just been sitting here for 2 whole months. Fruit of Grisaia, Makina route, and I think I'm about halfway through. And I just thought to get back to continuing it now, and I've left it sitting here for 2 whole months. Yeah, if it didn't take such frequent breaks with Grisaia, safe to say I would have probably gone through the entire game by this point. Probably could have gone through all of it easily now that I think about it. So obviously I'm going back here after I'm done the Makina route. 2020, that's back in May. Back in June. I procrastinate way too fucking much with this visual novel, let me tell you. June, July. My newest save. So I guess a quick recap would be appropriate since I put this off for like a whole 2 months. I did double check and yeah, Makina Route Part 4, I live streamed that early July, now it's early September. Yeah. 2 months. So a recap would be more than appropriate at this point. So last stream I remembered Yuji, Amane, Makina, well, the whole group and Mihama going to like the summer festival. Yuji teaching Makina how to play this game where she has to shoot a sniper, shooting corks, not actual bullets, at a tuna fish man, stuffed toy so she could win it. She wins the stuffed toy. And then shortly after, there's discussion about the festival last year that Makina went to with Amane. And Makina making a wish that she put up on this tree, wishing she had a quote-unquote papa. Yeah, her father was pretty much the only person in her family who really loved her, and he died when she was young. Specifically, he was murdered right in front of her eyes. She was only rescued from the scene of the crime after having spent 6 days there. Okay, let's just fast forward to now. Alone at the riverbank, there I found myself playing my usual slightly better than nothing game. Hurling flat stones along the surface of the water to see how many times they'd skip. But that day I noticed a man running along a dirt path that followed the course of the river. Well, it's a slightly misleading way to put it. I'd actually noticed the guy a long time ago, since he ran that route along the river every single day. We'd never so much as exchanged the word, but they'd always pass by at exactly the same time. Even on rainy or blustery days, that was the extent of my connection with the guy. Sure, he wasn't any more interested in me. At most, he was probably vaguely aware some weird kid was always out in the grass throwing rocks in the river. That day, a bit of an idle speculation ran through my head. That guy must be an athlete. Otherwise, why would you make yourself miserable by running every single day? Maybe he was even a pro of some sort. When you're a pro athlete, keeping yourself in shape's probably just another part of the job. And why would you bother running if it wasn't your job? I sure couldn't see anything fun about it. But when I actually thought it over, I realized that I'd never really gone on a long-distance run on my own free will. I didn't really have any reason to, and I never felt particularly interested in trying. So, like, 16 kilometers isn't long distance for this guy. Talking about the main character, by the way. It was basically just a whim. It's not like the rock skipping was doing much for me. I started running after school, jogging along with my knapsack on my back. 3 kilos at first, then 5, and eventually 10. Before long, running all the way to my mom's workplace became my daily routine. At first, I wouldn't make it over there until after her shift finished, so I usually meet her halfway. She rode home on her bicycle. Things went on like that for maybe half a year, I guess? Little by little, the distance I covered before meeting my mom grew longer, and eventually I managed to get to her workplace before she even left. When she came out that first evening to find me waiting by her bicycle in the parking lot, Mom's eyes went wide with surprise. I'm only too sure they did. You really are a fast runner, Yuji. She glanced down my beat-up old sneakers, and despite her extremely meager family finances, she bought me a new pair of running shoes. I say that was a good purchase. He's definitely going to use them. Oh, CD20, hi. He is definitely going to use those shoes. Now I understood. That man who was always passing me by must have had some big goal of his own. His running must have been his patient, steady way of approaching that objective. I didn't have any evidence, but it felt like the answer. If my sister were still alive, I could definitely beat her in a race now. Yeah, something about his dead sister. You can never truly know something until you try it. That man by the river taught me that lesson, and in turn, I want to pass it on to Makina. The ideal here would be something like, I don't know, teaching her the joy of music or something? If I had the talent, I'd gladly play an instrument or sing for her. Oh man, Yuji's singing. He can barely smile, I can't imagine him singing. My field of expertise happens to be... What's the matter, maggot? Your movements are getting sloppier and sloppier. Yeah, he'd definitely make a better drill sergeant than a musician, from what I've seen. Makina's been tagging along my daily running for several weeks now, and lately she starts to participate in a little light exercise afterward as well. When I'm on my own, that usually just means conventional calisthenics and strength training. But I came to realize that Makina's muscles are significantly underdeveloped for a girl her age. Thinking that lack of physical endurance might have something to do with her tendency to nod off in the middle of conversation, I started her on static isometrics. Then I worked up to a menu featuring more demanding dynamic exercise. I actually taught the girls some very simple self-defense principles a while ago, but I'm taking this opportunity to pass on some basic martial arts. Should be fun. These came with the disclaimer, use these to create yourself an opportunity to run. At first I wasn't taking the martial arts element particularly seriously. I looked at the lessons more or less as a substitute for playing around with her. But before I knew it, Makina was moving in ways that could sometimes start leaving me. You really can't underestimate this one. Shout from the pit of your stomach. Forcing the air out of your lungs helps push your brain to a state of tension, increasing your reaction time and the burst power of your muscles. Shout from the pit of your stomach, increasing your reaction time. Now I'm tempted to try that during a speedrun, and everyone's going to ask me what the hell is going on. Makina's following the fundamentals just as I told her, and she's generally quick on the uptake. Her single largest problem continues to be a complete lack of endurance. Overall, the girl's come a long way in such a short time. You're approaching inefficiently. Keep your movements compact. Don't give your own opponent a chance to counterattack. With another shout of determination, Makina ducks her head and leaps forward, expending all her remaining stamina on one powerful tackle. Just as I brace myself to block, the girl seems to disappear. It's that so-called slide dash of hers again. Where did she even pick this one up? Wherever it came from, she's good at it. The movement managed to surprise me, and that's no mean feat for an amateur, but that said, not good enough. The abrupt shift downward while maintaining her momentum was magnificent. Up until the moment her arms wrapped around my knees, Makina gets perfect marks. But sadly, her lower body is just too weak to bring me down. To the girl's credit, that doesn't keep her from trying. Her face bright red from exertion, she strains against my waist, raising a fierce battle cry. Seizing initiative doesn't mean you've won, also brute force isn't the only way to take down an opponent. Timing and balance are what really matter. Make use of everything you can. That's the only way you're ever going to bring your enemies down. I reach down, grab Makina's elbows, and lightly push my thumbs down against her ulnar nerves. Where are those in the body? I definitely wouldn't make a good drill sergeant. If I were a drill sergeant, I would probably have to know where the ulnar nerves are in someone's body. The impact of a funny bone, sending jolts of... Oh. Okay. Okay then, my turn now. Startled by the threat in their vulnerable position, Makina instinctively tries to put distance between us. A definite mistake. Anticipating her attempt to back away, I follow smoothly, then give the girl a light push to the upper body, using the force of her retreat against her. With very little effort on my part, she's completely destabilized. Sensing her imminent fall, Makina desperately braces her legs to resist the pull of gravity. Just as she struggles to right herself, I sharply yank the girl toward me, again exploiting her own momentum. In a one-smooth movement, I twisted her body around and wrenched up her arm behind her back. You understand now? If you're lacking in power, just use your opponents instead. The stronger they are, the better it works. Once you've mastered this, the title of champion's yours for the taking. Sounds good in theory, you know. But it just ain't that easy in the real world. I'm telling you, this isn't just theorizing. In the words of the immortal Mr. Lee, don't think, feel, sense the flow and all that. You're sure making some unreasonable demands of a girl widely renowned from a tender age as the invincibly insensitive imp, you know? Listen up, Makina. Thinking before you move slows you down, and more often than not, things won't go the way you plan anyway. Incidentally, do you understand how I was able to break your grapple so easily just now? You sorta made my elbow go all tingly, so I couldn't help loosening my grip, I guess. You weren't planning to loosen your grip, but you ended up letting go anyway. That's completely natural. When they touch a hot stove, anyone will jerk back at their hand before they even process what's happening. It's an instantaneous reflex action. Even when you're actually trying to touch the stove, you'll instinctively withdraw your hand. The part of your brain that controls conscious thought isn't the same as the part that optimizes twitch reactions. Learn to exploit these involuntary reflexes and you'll be able to control most of people's actions without the need for overwhelming force. Now that you mention it, there was an article on brain structure in Junior Science this month that mentions something about all that. Yeah, I read that one too. The main feature in that issue was pretty interesting as well. The one where they built that simulation of a brain and made the computer talk about its preferences, right? I thought that was cool too. Oh, that reminds me, speaking of preferences, you always use the same move when you're trying to land a tackle, you know that? The predictability makes it easier to deal with. Ideally, you should be mixing things up, not just sticking with the one style you like best. From now on, let's practice moves you're weaker at and add a little variation to your repertoire. Like using chopsticks with your left hand to train the right side of your brain? Human beings are creatures of infinite potential, but it seems like there's still a great deal of left to teach you. Yes, sir! Raise me good and proper, if you please. Well, learning the theory is important and all, but it's not much good without a foundation of basic physical fitness. That's what we really need to focus on right now. Makina has surprising agility and burst power. She can handle anaerobic exercise well, but endurance-based cardio seems to be a real issue. Despite her fundamentally weak muscles, the girl seems to have a strong heart that pumps a good deal of blood with every beat. As a result, her resting heartbeat's probably fairly low. Maybe those sudden bursts of sleep are the results of brief dips into outright bradycardia? If your circulatory system has something to do with that borderline narcolepsy of yours. Developing your muscles might actually reduce the symptoms somewhat. I don't know. The doctor said it's a reaction to excessive stress or something, although frankly, that's probably just the diagnosis when they don't have a friggin' clue. In any case, 9 times out of 10 someone who's in poor shape can improve their condition dramatically just by exercising, eating right, and getting enough sleep. Back in my old school, they were great believers in the intrinsic resilience of the human body. Go run it off was the extent of the medical advice you could expect if you were stupid enough to tell an instructor you'd caught a cold. But if I start eating too much, my jelly belly might become chronic, you know? That'd be hella traumatic. Traumatic? What's so bad about getting a little rounder? Kids are cuter when they have little meat on their bones. Okay, so, I caught this nasty cold last year, right? Amani took me to the hospital and everything. And you know what? We got this total hottie 20-something doctor and he's all, okay then, can you show me your stomach? So I confidently thrust out my jelly belly with a little wiggle for good measure. And McDreamy over there with the stethoscope turns his face to one side and goes, snort, excuse me? The jerk friggin' sniggered at me. Naturally, I get slightly pissed off and ask the punk if he's picking a fight. But then Amani smacks me upside the head from behind, so I make this weird little whoop sound. He ends up bursting out laughing. Forget that guy. Seriously. I doubt a doctor can't even discern the essence of your cuteness could possibly make an accurate diagnosis. I know, right? Exactly my thought on the matter. You can always tell a really excellent doctor by their ability to admit what they don't understand, or so someone or other told me back in the day. That said, I can't deny that excess flab mainly just gets in the way. What, we talking about Amani's tits now? Good example. I mean, a little extra fat at the chest and hips is a necessary evil for women, but those things are going to be a real nuisance when the girl goes golfing. Personally, as long as we don't get into whack territory, I think rounding out a little more would only add to Makina's niche appeal. Whack territory. Why do I feel I should probably know what this is? Horse Welfare Alliance of Canada. That's probably not it. Horse Welfare Alliance of Canada territory. That's probably not it now, is it? Okay, someone feel free to tell me what we're talking about here. As long as we don't get into Horse Welfare Alliance of Canada territory, I think rounding out a little more would only add to Makina's niche appeal. Well, come to think of it, I always did prefer the Bumblebee-like curves of a J2M Raiden to the pencil-thin C6N Sayun. Well, I guess that's not particularly relevant. Well? Anyway, for the moment, let's try to avoid restricting your diet and focus on improving your body's basal metabolic rate. No matter how much we speed up our metabolism, I doubt this shrimp's capable of burning 3,500 calories a day like a typical company employee. Guess I'll have to figure out a suitable training menu with Mess Sergeant Amane. Just as I'm stroking my chin with a thoughtful my ruminations are interrupted by the shrill squawking of Maka and his digital pet. It's a daily occurrence at this point, but I can still feel my blood pressure rising. Can't say I've ever heard a raid siren this idiotic. It's just your usual 7:30 alarm. We'll conclude our training here for today. Thank you very much, sir! Indeed, take a quick shower before you go to work, okay? Actually, I got today off from my job. That's so? Well, I guess a little R&R is necessary every once in a while. Right you are, Papa. So let's spend the whole day playing. I don't mind, but what sort of playing did you have in mind, specifically? Anything's fine, you know? That's actually the most troublesome possible answer. But you're always saying the exact same thing to Amani, you know? Am I really? Think about it, Amani is usually the one going, "Hey, Yuji, what do you want for dinner tonight?" And you always give her the totally apathetic whatever's fine, right? Well, I see. Looking at it from that angle, I feel like I've gained a little insight into the menu-related suffering Amani must endure on a daily basis. Really want me to decide? Girls at this age are difficult to figure out, especially for men like me. To be honest, I can't even begin to guess what sort of playing Makina would actually enjoy. Oh, wait a second, that's an idea. Maybe it's about time I gave you that. You got something for me? Alright, you've been working hard lately, Makina. I'm impressed. In fact, I think a reward is warranted. I will now bestow you with a splendid present. That said, I'm not exactly confident the sort of present would particularly appeal to your average adolescent girl. It's gonna be, I'm guessing it's gonna be either a gun or Yuji's gun. That's gonna be the present. Some sort of rifle. A rifle or his rifle, I don't know for sure yet. I'm afraid I haven't seen them myself. When was the last time you spoke? They came back to eat breakfast this morning, but the minute they finished eating, they both vanished again. I wonder where they went. They were here in the morning, yes? A few hours absence is hardly anything to get worked up about. Also, she's with Kazami-san. I don't think you need to be too worried. Well, she's with Papa. Should be fine. Those two have been acting a little strange lately, you know? What do you mean by strange? Could you be more specific? The two of them seem to be doing something secretly behind my back, and they just won't tell me anything about it. Oh, so they're leaving you out? Is that what this is about? Don't say stuff like that. Now I'm feeling a little depressed. If you're that curious about Irisu-san's activities, why not read her diary? She still writes a daily entry to submit to the principal, doesn't she? I did read it, but... Sakaki-san, do you know what a traitan is? Traitan? No, I'm not familiar with the term. Was that in Irisu-san's diary? Yeah. She wrote, "Today I played Traytan with Papa. It was totally fun," or something like that. Traytan. Just from the sound of the word, you'd think it was a character from some children's television program, or something of the sort. How many routes in this game overall? If we don't count the main route, which you have to go through on every playthrough, there's one route for each girl at the academy that Yuji encounters. That would be Makina, Amane, Michiru, Sachi, and who's the other one? Yumiko. Okay, so Amane, Sachi, Makina, Michiru, Yumiko. God, Yumiko's right in front of me. And it took me like 2 seconds to remember her name. I really need to just go through this more. I really need to play this more often. So 5, basically. 5 routes. Once you diverge from the main route, 1 for every girl in the Mihama Academy, 1 for every student. Yeah, I thought so too. But there was also this weird drawing of some pink animal in her diary, you know? Like an anteater or maybe a hippo. It was seriously bizarre. It's not like you have any reason to believe they're doing something problematic, do you? Well, sure, that's true. But the way they're keeping it secret kind of bugs me. I hope they're not getting up to any funny business. Funny business? You know, games that involve poking heart sticks in the wet holes or something like that. What on earth are you saying? I won't deny Kazami-kun's behavior has some distinctly abnormal aspects, but he's surprisingly sincere in nature. Why not show a little more trust and... Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Did you just think of something, Sakagi? It might have nothing to do with this whatsoever, but... Kazami-kun stopped by my room the other day and used my PC to order some sort of toy over the internet. A toy? He was shrewd enough to clear the history, so I don't know what exactly he bought. But he was browsing the websites of several major hobby shops, so I assume it was something of the sort. But I thought he cleared the history. Guess not all of it. Now that you mention it, Yushi had a cash-on-delivery package arrive the other day. I wonder if the receipt's still in the trash can. I understand you're worried about Irisu-san, but I can't say I approve of meddling in other people's private hobbies. Come on, now. How can you not be curious? I do understand your feelings. If you didn't win, what do you mean? Well, I know every route, all of the 5 routes have a bad ending and a good ending. If you don't win, you probably get a really sad ending. And I'm pretty sure winning or losing is based off of one choice. One major choice you get in each route. Speak of the devil, sounds as though they've returned. Rather than driving yourself mad with speculation, why not ask those 2 directly? Will they even tell me? I'm afraid I can't guarantee. Good luck to you, Suo-san. Is the curry ready? Yes, yes, just as ordered. We got some curry for lunch today. Made some tasty prawns, too. Get them while they're deep-fried. Amani, you're the best! Makina, you're kind of covered in mud. Wait, hold on. Are you bleeding? Oh? Ah, well, yeah. Papa kept poking me with a hard stick, you know. Got a few scrapes here and there. Yuji! Excuse me, Yuji! Yes, no need to bellow, woman. People might get the idea you're prone to hysterical overreaction. Excuse me, Makina's injured, you know. What do you have to say for yourself? Yeah, she did get a few bumps and scrapes out there. Nothing a stiff upper lip can't fix. How's that going to fix anything? What were you doing out there? You're overreacting something fierce, Amane. I'm a kid, so skinning an ear or 2 on the playground is par for the course, right? You're not exactly a kid in terms of age, you know. I'll admit that I could have been a little more careful, but try to think of injuries like this within the normal range of variation. I don't want to treat her like a hothouse flower either, but even a small cut can lead to tetanus or sepsis, you know? I did have her wash them out with tap water, but you're right, disinfection's important too. Sorry about that. 66 years have passed since the end of the war, but its impact still lingers. It's said that those who live through those painful years are often overprotective towards their grandchildren. Many older Japanese endured miserable food shortages in their childhood. Many watched wounded friends die for lack of basic treatment. Spurred by a fierce desire to protect their descendants from such misery, they sneak perfectly well-fed little boys and girls extra treats on top of their school lunches, ultimately leaving them plump and spoiled. I can't let them go hungry. I can't let some trivial scrape end up killing her. The sentiment's understandable, but the more you protect a human being, the weaker they become. As an ambitious commissioned officer observed after running alive from the south, sometimes the bite of winter is pleasant in its own way. By the same token, occasionally experiencing the harshness of the world can teach us compassion, help us find real strength. Second! That's fine, but you sure are eating a lot lately. Don't tell me your appetite center's malfunctioning again. The girl's been working part-time and training with me lately, so it makes sense she'd work up an appetite. Pushing your body spurs the appetite. At my previous school, even I used to supplement the 3 meals a day we got in the dorm using my own money. And among my classmates, there were guys who'd wolf down 3 huge Swiss rolls from the convenience store and call it a light snack. Here you go, Makina, your second helping. But seriously, even the curry has pumpkin in it. How many times do I have to tell you, pumpkins are crazy rich in vitamins. You gotta have B1 if you want to turn those carbohydrates into energy efficiently, right? True enough. Your nutritional wisdom continues to impress me, Amane. I know, right? Makina's been losing a little flab off that jelly belly lately thanks to my expert management of her diet, you know? Don't be ridiculous. That's clearly the result of the strength training we started recently. Strength training? You serious? Makina can't stand exercise. I checked, and yeah, it's actually been 2 months since Makina Route Part 4 that I livestreamed. I've devised a routine that isn't too onerous. She's mostly just repeating a few sets of static exercises that effectively work the muscles in a fairly short period of time. I'm not sure if I really follow, but I guess this is what you two keep slinking off to do behind my back? Our main focus has been strengthening the inner muscles, but we're gradually moving toward toughening the outer ones as well. That's probably why she's looking a little slimmer around the waist. What are you even doing out there? Kind of difficult to summarize, actually. Tree climbing and stuff, like crawling around on the ground, playing leapfrog sorta. Some hide and go seek too. And swinging around sticks too, kinda. We're playing those sorts of games, you know? What the heck is that? It all sounds like stuff that appeals to, like, 10-year-old boys. It's pretty friggin' fun. Papa promised to play with me this afternoon, too, you know? Wanna join in, Amani? Alright then, see you later. So, physicist, what's going on? My job. Also helping a friend with a website. Zelda 2 randomizers. Playing a bunch of Clone Hero as well. I'm probably gonna make like my team's probably gonna make top 8 most likely in that event as well. It's looking good. And also looking further into Castlevania 3 Alucard route. See what I can maybe do with that. I mean, with the game. Not a whole lot. Just main character and Makina playing together, having fun. Rolling around in dirt under the blazing sun kind of lost its appeal to me a while ago. Oh yeah, that sucks. Anywho, thanks for the grub. Huh? Wait, Makina, are you already done eating? Yeah, it was hella tasty. Come on, Papa, let's go play. Before you start playing again, go take a bath and change out of those filthy clothes. What? They're just gonna get dirty again, you know? I don't care. Take a bath anyway. Papa's not gonna like you if you stink of sweat, you know? Alright then. Papa, wanna come in with me? Papa and I have a little something to discuss. Go in by yourself this time, alright? They even take a bath together? They take baths together. What's all this then? She went out of her way to drive off Makina before starting the conversation, which would mean she's probably angry. Alright then, Yuji-han. Mind giving me a little of your time? E-time? Why the Kyoto dialect? You got other things to worry about right now, friend. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable. Oh, she's pissed, right? From the tone of her voice, I'm guessing she might be asking me to sit on my heels? As a precautionary measure, I straightened my posture. So in the live stream before this one, there was the festival that everyone went to. There was a festival with Amane, Makina, Yuji, and, like, the other students. Then there was also, like, Amane talking about the festival last year, and the wish that Makina put up on this tree, I want a papa. And since then, it's mainly just been main character and Makina training, playing together. And something about a present that Makina earned that Yuji's gonna give her as a reward. What are you two really doing behind my back? I'm not gonna be angry as long as you're honest, okay? It's just the usual Army Rangers game. Really? You're not playing any funny games with her, are you? What's this funny game supposed to be? No need to worry, we haven't done anything dangerous like rappelling yet. Did you just say yet? Look, I'm being very cautious about her safety. I mean, before you came along, Makina used to spend her time playing with dolls all by herself. Compared to that, it's good to see her getting some fresh air and exercise. But try to make sure she stays in one piece, alright? Yeah, understood. You just bought Makina some weird toy, didn't you? What are you talking about? You borrowed Sakaki-san's computer to order something on the web, right? Look at this! Amane thrust out a small slip of paper in vaguely accusatory fashion, with a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. I recognized the receipt the delivery man left on my bubble-wrap package the other day. This is in the trash bin over there. What are you buying her that costs 80,000 yen? I thought Makina could use an Amani violin, so... Don't lie to me, why would a violin need that big a case? You saw the case? Well, yeah, but it was locked, so I couldn't open it. What's inside that thing? I guess you could call it an educational toy. Makina needs to develop her talents. Anyway, it's nothing too weird. You don't need to worry about it. You're just making me some more suspicious. What is this thing? I'm not going to tell you that. Something I can't know about, huh? It's not anything I need to keep secret, and there aren't any legal issues either. I just don't think you'd understand right now. That's the only reason I'm not telling you. Until Makina's talent really flowers to the point where I decide the girl should actually pursue this going forward. I'm not going to let you interfere. Even if you catch on, I'd appreciate if you pretended otherwise. It's not anything seriously dangerous, is it? I'll guarantee you that much. Alright then, fine. That works. I'll keep my mouth shut, but in exchange, you better make sure you keep her in one piece. Ah, that's right, there's one more thing I want to ask you about, which is... Take a look here, will you? What's this? It's Makina's diary. See this right here? She wrote, "Today I played Traitan with Papa," but... What's that Traitan thing? It's, well... You know. Looking at the picture, it seems like she was trying to draw some weird little pink animal. Is this Traitan? Go! That's... I can't tell her Traitan is Makina's abbreviation for training Tanto. That's just not an option. A training Tanto, as you might guess, is just a mock short sword without an edge. Helps you practice one of the most indispensable jungle warfare skills without risk of disembowelment. I've been teaching Makina barehanded grappling techniques for a while now, and lately she's started to get a decent feel for the basics. What route do I plan on doing after this? Michiru, maybe Sachi. Leaning towards Michiru, most likely. The inevitable struggle for survival. As civilization collapses, Japan is all but covered in jungle. Traitan mastery is the difference between life and death. Any idea what it might mean? Come Come on, Amane, you haven't heard of Traitan? From that kids show on satellite TV? He's ridiculously popular these days. Really? I've never even heard of that name before. Is that really true? Of course, you know. Hey ho, it's me, Traitan! Listen up, boys and girls! When you're setting up your pitfall traps, don't forget to smear rotten shit on the tips of your bamboo spears! Ringing any bells now? Pretty famous line. If you say so. I mean, rotten shit? In other words, Traitan's reminding the boys and girls in front of their TV sets the wars are won through a steady accumulation of shit. Oh, minor harassments. The little guy knows his stuff. What the heck is that? A show for child soldier guerrillas in conflict zones? Well, my attempt to avoid Amane's wrath through spontaneous babble seems to have backfired somewhat. You may have noticed by now, but I'm really not much of a liar. Yep. Noticed pretty clearly. Doesn't get her Vietnam War references, doesn't she? In any case, don't worry about Makina. I'll personally raise her into a splendid lady capable of returning alive from any hellhole we drop her into. I think that usually goes a splendid lady who won't embarrass us anywhere she goes, right? Why drop her into a hellhole? Anyways, that's how it is. Later. Hey, Yuji! This conversation is over yet, mister? Oh, for crying out loud. But seriously, I wonder what he bought her. It's not like we're doing anything to be ashamed of. Given enough patient explanation on my part, I'm sure Amane will understand eventually. But where possible, it's best not to advertise this sort of skill. For one thing, the value of a trump card is inversely proportional to the number of people who are aware of its existence. And while our current pursuit may have gained tentative social sanction as a kind of sport, it's still strongly evocative of lethal weaponry. We have a serious image problem to overcome. Sort of like motorcycles in that respect, there's this nagging prejudiced assumption that a young person who gets on one of these is going to end up using it for evil purposes. For that exact reason, I think it's necessary to demonstrate that Makina understands the rules and can follow them responsibly. If the girl really knows what she's doing, we'll have a much easier time convincing Amane. And then Makina finished with a bath. Makina, a word. It seems Amane started to notice our secret games. From now on, let's play a little more stealthily. Why do we gotta hide? Playing is inherently more fun when you're doing it behind Mommy's back. Oh, gotcha! That's not really an answer to the question, but for some reason I'm totally convinced, you know? Really. I will now present you with your rifle. Lowering the hefty Duralumin case to the ground, I begin rolling the dials on the combination lock. 9029. The lock clicks open as I slide the last digit into place. Why do I need to know the combination lock? The number for a combination lock for a rifle I'm never gonna get to use because it's in a video game. I swing open the lid of the case, revealing a bed of foam with a number of cutout spaces keeping various components safely in place. The barrel, the action, the magazine, an olive drop stock, and last but not least, a telescopic sight that set me back a good bit more than the body of the rifle itself. Pulling these out of the case, I quickly snap the rifle together, leaving only the magazine unattached. Taking the weapon carefully in both hands, I stand before Makina and read out the number etched on the right-hand side of the barrel. Your rifle. Serial number 112035. Serial number 112035 received. This little ritual helps grind into the thick heads of new recruits that the rifle is an irreplaceable partner, while simultaneously encouraging a healthy sense of tension. You remember the dry firing practice we did this morning? The one where you gotta pull the trigger without making a pinball on top of the elevation not fall off? Right, that one. That gets your arms hella tired real quick, you know? I'm aware. Back in the old days, I had to do that until my arms were about ready to fall off. Got it to 2 separate pinballs eventually. It's another form of isometrics, you know? You need strong muscles, or your barrel ends up shaking. It's not much of a factor with an air rifle like this when you're shooting with a real gun and live ammunition. Your body tends to unconsciously brace itself against the noise and recoil, and you end up pulling the trigger much harder than you intended, sometimes badly throwing off your aim. The exercise in question is aimed specifically at preventing that problem. Alright, this time we'll start with plinking. You're free to fire at the paper target I set up 25 meters ahead of our position. Start off by zeroing the rifle. Zeroing? In other words, fire test rounds and adjust your scope based on the impact. We did it this morning as well, remember? But once you've detached the sight, there's always going to be a slight shift the next time you put it back on. Also, even changes in the temperature and atmospheric humidity can shift the point of impact by a few centimeters. When you have the chance, zeroing should always be your first order of business. Good, I'll now provision your ammo. For now, you'll be using 6mm .2 biodegradable pellets, 9 rounds in total. Use the first 3 to adjust your scope, the next 3 to aim for the center, and the last 3 to confirm the shot. Also, you're going to be shooting with the bipod in the fully prone position. What? Right back in the mud? I just took a bath and changed clothes, you know? Not to worry, I brought a mat this time. I unrolled the foam mat I've been carrying behind the rifle case on the ground, then add a self-inflating air mattress on top, flipping open the intake valve. See? Bit more comfortable than the ground, and your clothes won't get dirty. It came well prepared this time! Not sure if this is much of a bonus, but I also brought along some camo netting ordered online. With all this, we could pull off a full-scale ambush if we wanted to. Camo netting? Ooh, this is a ghillie suit, ain't it? Snipers are always wearing this sort of stuff in my video games. Video games. So cool, freaking awesome, is this the real deal? It's a replica made for outdoor sports, but this one's pretty damn well made. You can drape it over your head, wrap it around the rifle, or both. A truly helpful purchase. I couldn't help buying one for myself while I was at it. This sort of thing kinda gets the blood pumping, you know? Went from playing with dolls to playing with rifles. The trick is to be careful when you're knotting the leaves together. Make sure none of them get flipped around and don't use so much that it seems unnatural. Alright, I totally want to try it out. Let's do this thing right now. Oh, you really love this stuff, don't you? Surprisingly enough, Makina has displayed a fierce interest in rifles. Probably developed an interest through bits of trivia she picked up from those video games of hers. According to the testimony of Komeni Sachi, her primary playmate, Maki-chan absolutely adores those bang-bang shoot-them-up FPS games. She always shrieks, "Die! Die!" and cackles with joy as she plays. Distressed by this apparent manifestation of the virtual generation's much-discussed tendency to trivialize the taking of human life, I pondered the situation at some length, ultimately deciding that rather than ducking the issue entirely, my duty was to teach the girl just how serious pulling a trigger really is. It's not just pressing a button. It's actually pulling a trigger, and if you're not used to it, witnessing some pretty nasty recoil just blowing you backwards. Never fired a gun, but I know, like, if you're not used to the recoil, it'll probably send you flying backwards first couple times easily. Just as with the bicycle, my broader goal is to raise her into a responsible person. One who treats any tool possessing the ability to cause harm with the way respect it deserves. Hey, Papa? What's up? It's friggin' hot. Tough it out. 80% of a sniper's job is enduring discomfort. Let's begin with one shot at that paper target. Stand by. Ready to fire! I hope no one walks by and actually gets shot. I hope no one walks by and ends up getting shot by accident. No, that would be a fucking fail. Makina stops breathing altogether, holding range steady. I let 4 seconds tick by, then quietly issue the order she's waiting for. Fire. As soon as the words leave my mouth, there's the soft sound of an ideally muffled shot. An round white pellet 6mm in diameter flashes past my spotter scope. Maybe a second or two after Makina pulled the trigger, the BB impacts on the edge of the paper target. Correction. Up 1 click, left 2 clicks. Up 1, left 2, clear. Second shot, prepare to fire. Ready on your mark! Fire. The pellet launched into a powerful backspin by the rifle's hop-up system, traces a lazy parabola through the air and strikes the target. Another miss. The wind's stronger than I thought. Let's try changing ammunition. The .25 pellets will probably do better. Remove your magazine, pull back the bolt, and stick your finger in the chamber to make sure it's empty. My finger won't fit, you know? Then visual confirmation is fine. Peer into the bore from the side of the port. If you see light, we're fine. Chamber empty. Alright then, we're switching the .25-gram biodegradable pellets. Install magazine. Magazine installed. Send the first round to the chamber. First round in chamber. This time, we're going to change our target based on the direction of the wind. Look to the right and slightly on that bench. What's that? A paper cup? Your target is a cup filled with clear blue water. If you make the shot, it'll start squirting out all over the place. Good stuff, right? Yes, I'm gonna pop a hole in that sucker for sure. Prepare to fire. The BB hops out of the barrel like a stung cat, slapping cleanly into the paper cup 25 meters away. Hit. Well done. Fire 3 more as you are to confirm the shot. Roger that. 3 consecutive. Wait, what the? What's wrong? Instructor, there's someone on the range. Say what? I quickly swing my spotter scope to the right. Sure enough, Sakaki Yumiko is standing a few meters away from the bench with a paperback clutched tightly to her chest, staring at the paper cup with a terrified expression. Sakaki. Huh. Damn. She's got a book in her hand, you know? She was probably walking over to indulge in some afternoon reading on the bench. Must have gotten freaked out when the cup started spitting that water all of a sudden. Makina, we're suspending practice for the moment. Safety on. Roger that. Safety on. After confirming that Makina has engaged the safety properly, I double-check to make sure the bolt handle and trigger are firmly locked. Then pick up the transistor megaphone lying at my side, bring it to my mouth, and hold down the switch. Hey, Sakaki! What the hell do you think you're doing out there, woman? Yumi-chan's looking around all over the place. Girl's about ready to burst into tears. Christ. Well, from Sakaki's perspective, she was just innocently trying to read a book in the shade when a nearby cup abruptly sprung a leak. And just as she was cringing in surprise at the mysterious phenomenon, a disembodied voice started bellowing angrily at her from the bushes. I suppose bursting into tears wouldn't be that unreasonable a reaction. Hey, can I shoot her? No! I'm going to talk to Sakaki for a minute, alright? You're on standby here. Absolutely no firing until I give you the go-ahead. You got that? Can I shoot her? No, don't shoot her. I'm perfectly fine with going down 4 other character routes after Makina, so please don't fucking shoot her. I'm perfectly fine doing 4 other routes. We don't need Yumiko to die, and then we only have 3. Hey there, Sakaki. Tell me, what is your major malfunction? What is your major malfunction, numbnuts? Did you miss the red flags? Please explain why you wandered onto the range in the middle of a shooting session. Right now, I'm leaning towards you being an idiot. Looks like someone saw Full Metal Jacket. Someone watched the movie. Buffeted by my best veteran drill sergeant roar, Sakaki flinches, stiffening into a defensive posture. Someone at least had to have seen some of the movie. Who are you calling? Are you blind, woman? I jab out an index finger toward the gateposts that mark the entrance to the courtyard, where 2 conspicuous red flags are gently flapping in the afternoon breeze. When the red flags are up, it means you keep out, and even outside the perimeter, sudden actions that might lead to an accident are forbidden. Just how clueless are you? How on earth am I supposed to know any of that? What are you even doing out here? Like I said, shooting practice. Do your ears not work either? Shooting practice? Hey, Papa, that book Yumi-chan's holding, The Samurai's Right Arm, looks kinda interesting. Ask if I can borrow it after she's done, okay? The Samurai's Right Arm? Looking over my shoulder towards Makina's position, the distance between us seems to be a good 30 meters. She seriously read those tiny letters from over there? The scope's good, but it's not that good. Incidentally, Sakaki, Makina wants to know if you'll enter that book when you finish reading it. Irisu-san is here as well? She's in the bushes over there. Can you see her? Where is she? Can't make her out, huh? I guess that's hardly surprising. I know exactly where she is, but it's still a struggle to pick her out. Very solid bit of camouflage work, if I do say so myself. In the first place, did you get permission from the principal to appropriate our courtyard for this shooting of yours? Of course I went to her first. I'm planning to apply for the establishment of an official club eventually. A shooting club? Not surprised. The basic training portion of Full Metal Jacket was what makes the movie memorable. And then there's also Private Pyle's Descent into Madness. While he's sitting on the toilet. An air rifle club. Oh, is that right? You seem a little nonplussed, my friend. In that case, let me provide you with a first-hand demonstration. Let's drop back a bit, alright? I want 20 meters minimum between you and that target. I'm not particularly interested, you know? Won't take long, come on. Must have been some really hard bar soap. I'm not gonna release the safety. You have permission to fire. At Yumi-chan? No, I'll designate your target. Aim for the first cut from the left, alright? I'll issue your timing from here. What? What is it that Makina has against Yumiko that she wants to fucking shoot her? Okay, Sakaki, watch that cup 20 meters ahead of us. I pass Sakaki a pair of binoculars, point out the cup in question, and once again hold down the PTT button for my wireless. Ready, and fire. Ah, she hit it! Hit. Well done, Makina. That was Irisu-san just now? That's right. Pretty decent skills, don't you think? Wait, where is she even shooting from? What? We're practically on top of her and you still haven't noticed? Huh? Is she nearby? Alright, Makina, that's enough for now. Remove the magazine, confirm the chamber's empty. Engage the safety and take off your camouflage. Affirmative! A few seconds after the end of the transmission, the Sakaki looks around the area nervously. A clump of bushes 2 or 3 meters behind us rustle noisily. Makina slowly gets to her feet, still cloaked in her ghillie suit. Calm yourself, Sakaki. Makina, lose the camo and get that paint off. Hold on a sec, okay? The girl throws off her camouflage net and retrieves a wet wipe from the pouch around her waist and begins to vigorously scrub at her face. Sorry to keep you waiting. Irisu-san, what on earth are you? Like the man said, shooting practice. How you like that? Shocked much? Well, anyone would be a little startled by a lump of grass suddenly standing up behind them. That's not what I was talking about, you know. I wanted you to be surprised at my sharpshooting skills. That was certainly surprising as well, but... I see. So this is what you used my computer to buy the other day, then? Well, yeah. Toys these days are certainly impressive. I'm amazed they could hit such a small target at this distance. I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention? I won't deny that the gun performs well, but that was a 25-meter outdoor shot, you know? If you're going to praise anything, it should be Makina's skills. Darn straight. Chizu said I'm the kind of girl who responds best to positive enforcement, you know? That's nice, but I'm afraid I don't quite grasp just how much of an accomplishment this really is. In that case, want to give it a shot yourself? Yeah, no, that's a plan. Once you give it a try, Yumi-chan, you'll totally understand just how freaking hard it is. I'm gonna have to pass on rolling around in the mud. If you'd like to compete at something, I prefer to sit down and play a game of chess over tea. You really are an indoor type to the core, aren't you? That sort of remark is exactly why people call you the brutally boring broad, you know? Excuse me, Irisu-san? Would you mind telling me exactly who refers to me in that way? I guess it's mostly just me. Was that so? Goodness. I don't think I've ever seen a criminal confess quite so enthusiastically before. You promise not to say that again? Shut up, ugly! I'm Shawi! So Shawi! I watched totally wrong! My mistake! I won't say it again! Makina is a bad girl. I seen the error of my ways. Super sorry! Forgive me. Come now, Sakaki. The girls demonstrated remorse. Why not show a little pity? Unbelievable. Am I imagining things, or has Irisu-san's mouth gotten progressively filthier since the day you arrived at school? Is this my fault? Well, I mean, I guess you might have something of a point, but... Oh, the pain. I swear, this woman wouldn't know a proportional response if it bit her on the ass. Only kids are the friggin' worst. Irisu-san? Yes, sorry! I was wrong again! Makina was a very bad girl! Very, very bad. Try not to be a bad influence on the girl, please. I'm trying, you know. I do scold her every once in a while, but listen to what I'm saying to you. Before you worry about scolding her, focus on improving your own behavior. In other words, lead by example, not just instruction. Impressive insight, Sakaki. All the more reason for you to reflect on your failures, then. What the heck, Yumi-chan? You leaving already? Let's play together. That's quite alright. Please feel free to carry on without me. Sakaki, you have a second before you go. Come on, no need for the full power scowl. I just wanted to ask if you could keep quiet to the others about this. I don't particularly mind, but would you at least tell me why? I don't want to deal with people's prejudiced misconceptions. That's the only reason. Suisan's already caught the scent, you know. I'm aware. I asked the Mani to turn a blind eye for now. Okay, look, have you really thought this over? If Suisan knows, who else are you determined to hide this from? The principal gave her approval, didn't she? That leaves only Matsushima-san and Komine-san aware of your activities. What's going to be problematic about those two finding out? Kind of think of it, you got a point there. Right. Even if we told Michiru, she'd probably fire back, okay, so what? Do whatever you want. I mean, it's not like I'm interested in the slightest. So you could not waste my time telling me. Just die already, why don't you? Or something along those lines. Building up such a head of steam that the whole Tsundere train ends up flying off the rails in a burst of verbal violence. And as for Sachi, we'd probably get shooting? Somehow, the word has a rather lewd resonance, does it not? Just, what do you plan to be shooting into what? Goodness, my loins are all aflutter. Or something along those lines. Okay, is there not a single halfway normal person in this damn place? You're including yourself in that remark, I presume? Like what? Are you seriously just realizing this now? Fair enough. This place really is a den of eccentrics, isn't it? No wonder I fit in. In the first place, isn't keeping your shooting secret the more dangerous choice? Those red flags, was it? Everyone needs to know they signify don't enter. Such procedures are hardly meaningful unless we're all aware of them, yes? What's this, a sensible argument? When you talk like that, you almost seem like a reasonable person. Hella mysterious. The cold shoulder, eh? Yeah, figures. Okay, shutting up now. In any case, even if you opt to conceal the precise nature of your activities, explain the red flag rule thoroughly. That's all I have to say. I can't deny that it seems we were a little sloppy in our safety procedures. Guess there's nothing for it. Time to break out the ultimate weapon. What's that? A missile? No, try again. Okay, so something infinitely approaching missile them? Why are you so caught up on this missile thing? When it comes to ultimate weapons, nothing's more ultimate than the mouth gun. The heck is a mouth gun? Treating an empty gun as though we're loaded with live ammo. Lining up your shots as normal, then yelling bang bang instead of firing. And when you're not actually firing rounds, anything becomes a legitimate target. Image training's pretty good stuff, you know? You could climb up onto the roof of the Eastern School building and aim at the principal's office. Sniping Chizu, eh? That might be a little fun. Hell, since we're not actually firing, we could even go for an even longer distance shot. Like, let's see, sniping the principal's office from that high spot on the beach, maybe? No, I guess that might be pushing it. When you get over 1,200 meters, 7.62 millimeters isn't really going to cut it. For starters, how about we practice shooting that thing? What thing? Oh fuck. Michiru. That thing. Not a bad idea. Alright, Makina, camera 1, then get in position to fire. Ah! Distance to target, 70 meters. Wind from right to left, up 3, right 2. Target movement speed, estimated 4 kilometers per hour. Adjust your windage, 2 millimeters further to the right. I got a bead, Captain. Don't aim for the head, smack it right into that meager little chest, got that? Ready? Fire! Bang! Having successfully eliminated the menace of a pseudo-Tsundere invasion, we proceed to mess around blowing imaginary holes in various targets, through precision mouth gun sniping. Come on, Makina. If you're done with supper, hurry up and take your bath, alright? I'll be there in just a minute, so go ahead and get in. I got all sunburned. My face and shoulders hella hurt. That's what tends to happen when you play outside all day without bothering to put on sunblock. Come on. The sunblock just sweats right off, even if I put it on, you know? Did you have fun? Yeah, it was wicked sick uber fun! Wicked sick, huh? Well, that sounds pretty darn fun. What sort of games you were playing? Well, Oh no! I almost fell for a cunning trap! Irisu Makina, enlisted with my Hama Academy. School register number 4. Born January 13th. What's this all of a sudden? Well, Papa said not to tell enemy interrogators anything but your name, ID number, and DOB. Interrogators. Wasn't planning to torch it out of you, alright? Just go take your bath already. Roger that. For crying out loud. Oh, that's no good! I nearly forgot Mr. Duck! Okay, the duck's alright, but don't start carrying other toys in there again. Got that? It's good to see the girl so energetic, but... Alright then, guess it's time to take a peek in Makina's diary. Oh, what? Where'd she put that journal? She was just scribbling in it a little while ago, so it can't have gotten that far, right? Ah, for crying out loud. She left dirty socks lying around down here again? How many times do I have to tell her to put them in the damn hamper? Where's that friggin' diary anyway? Arg! Oh, there we go. Nice, I knew it was down here somewhere. Today I played Purring King with Papa. It was hurla fun. Hurla. Well, probably one step above hella for her, I guess. But more importantly, what the heck is this? Is this supposed to be the Purring King? Purring as in custard pudding? Pudding King. I am Lord and Master of the Pudding Realm. His Royal Highness Purring King. What? Seriously? What the heck is this? First Traitan, now a Pudding King? I mean, I don't know, I just don't know anymore. What on earth is that girl doing with Yuji? Traitan and Purring King were the best of friends. They spent many carefree days playing together in a deep dark forest rumored to be haunted by goblins. One day, Tuna Fish Man abruptly appeared before them. While vigorously disemboweling himself with a gleaming knife, he spoke thus, because that's what Tuna Fish Man does. He just rips himself apart and throws himself at, well, what, Captain Spare Ribs? Who was like the main bad guy of Tuna Fish Man. Captain Spare Ribs, Dr. Spare Ribs. I remember they just threw, like, parts of their body at each other. And, like, that's a show for kids. Elderly people are fond of the phrase, experience as much as you can while you're young, but it's apparently somewhat rare for youngsters to generally understand those words. I'm something of a special case. I've seen much more than most people my age. Hell, I think I'm on the world-weary side of things, but even so, sometimes a small discovery or brief comment will completely overturn what I thought I knew. Experience is the most valuable form of knowledge, the survivor's greatest prize. Repeatedly experiencing something until you know it inside and out is worthwhile. So is seeking out new experiences and widening your horizons. And this time, Makina opted for the latter. I don't think it's anything more complicated than that. Are you sure you don't want to come? I'm gonna stay with Papa this year. Just this morning, Makina declared that she would be spending her summer vacation in the dorm, rather than accompanying Amane to Kyoto for the second time. Apparently, this last-moment change of plans was announced just as Amane was preparing breakfast today, and came as such a shock that the girl dropped her kitchen knife to the floor dramatically. Not to beat a dead horse, but why? It's not like you're going to have that much fun hanging around with this thing, you know? Can you not call me a thing to my face? At the very least, try not to point for emphasis. You managed to bruise my feelings a bit. Well, being with Papa is the single biggest reason. But there's also my part-time job and watering the apple seedling and looking after my crawfish and stuff. Alright, will do. I experienced Kyoto last year, so this time I'm gonna have my first summer with Papa. Will this really be alright? What are you going to do about your meals and all that? I got my bread baking machine. Just bread isn't good enough, alright? You need nutritionally balanced meals. Ah, jeez. Maybe I should make some snacks with a long shelf life before I go? It'll be fine. I'm going to take care of the cooking. Alright, but can you really make decent meals either? I've got this mental image of you eating nothing but beans. Not to worry, I'll get some pumpkins in there as well. A human being won't die as long as they got beans and pumpkins to eat. Don't forget the baked goods! Ooh! I'll try making some pumpkin bread! Nice, sounds delicious, am I right? I'm kinda worried. If Makina's not coming, maybe I'll just stay too. Come on, it's gonna be fine. I can do what needs to be done, you know. Go take your trip! Bring me back some Yatsuashi cracknels with extra crack! Green tea flavor, if you please. With extra crack. Not the crack I'm thinking of, I hope not. Makina can't be a crack addict. You really do love your tough, crunchy food, don't you? I'm a traditionalist myself. Get some of the default cinnamon flavor ones. Yeah. I'll buy you souvenirs. But in return, you'd better finish your homework, Makina. So am I gonna have to tutor you too for pre-calculus? I guess if you end up needing it, because physicists ask for help. Well, he didn't ask for help directly, but like if he's struggling, he might come to me for help. Usually make sure she does that homework alright. Yes, you two really get the message. Even if I'm gone, you can't just play around all the time, okay? Don't talk about being gone. Amani, you gotta come back, okay? If you don't come back to me, I'll track you down, no matter how far you go. Stop talking like a stalker. I'll be back soon enough, okay? Yokohama Shinkansen leaves at 8:50, right? You're going to miss the train unless you get a move on. Okay, then I guess I'll be on my way. Very well. Makina, we will now send off Amani on our journey to the capital with 3 hearty cheers. Kyoto. Tokyo's the capital in the present day. Tokyo's the capital in the present day. Like hundreds or like thousands of years ago, maybe just hundreds, Kyoto was the capital of Japan at one point in its history. Tokyo, present day. In the past, Kyoto was the capital. Not sure, like, exactly what year they changed their capital. Well, I certainly appreciate the value of Amane's contribution to our well-being. I assumed their temporary absence wouldn't have any particularly serious effects on our lives. To be honest, that casual attitude was partly the product of stubborn pride. I got along just fine myself before, didn't I? But once the woman was actually gone, it didn't take 30 minutes for the first problems to begin surfacing. Hey Makina, how old are the eggs in this fridge? I ain't the one who laid them. I'd hope not. Oh no, I can't picture it. Makina eggs. One's closer to the front should be fine. I see. More importantly, we're nearly out of toilet paper. Where's the spare rolls at? Where was it again? I do remember buying her some, so we should have plenty in stock. Amani's the type to hoard this sort of stuff. It's probably squirreled away somewhere, you know? I don't see anywhere to hoard things in this room. Maybe she stashed it under the stairs? You know, that little room across the hall? Aikaye, Amani Warehouse. Amani Warehouse? Amani's got a habit of buying up whatever they got on sale at the supermarket and tossing them in her warehouse. Tissues, toilet paper, canned food, all that sort of stuff. There's gotta be 50 liters of bottled water in there by now, you know? Sounds like a pretty decent little emergency stockpile. Girl's fundamentally the parsimonious type. Give her a box of cookies, and she'll save the ribbon and wrapping paper. Speaking of penny pinching, that reminds me. There we go! Knew this was in here. What's that supposed to be? Yellowish powdery substance. Remember when Amani made that pumpkin soup the other day? This is the leftover skin and pulp from when she juiced that sucker. Seriously? Who bothers to save that stuff? What do you think you're calling that stuff, bub? Pumpkin skin is the most nutritional part of the whole darn thing. How could you even think of throwing it away? I see. My apologies. What are you planning to use it for? Naturally, I'm gonna need it in some dough and made pumpkin bread. Let's have that for lunch, okay? Also, I'm craving some cinnamon rolls, so let's make those too. Talking about Yatsuhashi will get you in the mood for something with cinnamon? You betcha. Okay then, let's get started on that dough. Hold on, Makina, take a look at the clock. 9 o'clock, eh? Mayhaps Amani's on the bullet train by now? Mayhaps yourself, look at the other wall. We practiced on the left face, right face thing? Wrong. I point to a large piece of paper hanging on the wall. The words, Summer Vacation Schedule, scrawled across the top in Makina's handwriting. What's this? Schedule? It's a new type of textile? Playing dumb isn't much good when you're the one who wrote that damn thing, and 9 in the morning is homework time, right? Look, this homework is just stuff Amani decided to make me do all on her own, you know? It's not like the school gave me any. True enough. And Amani's not around, so I guess it's all good. Right, right? Ahaha! Were you seriously expecting me to say that? Idiot. Ah! Come on now. Ain't no cause to fly off the handle. If you're thinking I'm going to be a soft touch compared to Amani, you got another thing coming. You decided to schedule yourself, so I want to see you at least pretending to follow it. Just pretending's enough? Not like you'll learn anything if I force you to study when you don't want to, but at the very least, make yourself sit in front of your desk at a set time every day and pretend to study. Once that becomes a habit, your brain will start waking up all on its own when the time comes. You'll be able to focus intently and get a great deal done in a short time. Really? There's no point in trudging along through your textbooks for hours on end. 1 hour is just about right for a study session. Give it a try and you'll see. Somehow I feel like you're trying to pull one over on me here. Set aside a specific time every day for focused, undistracted study. I learned that simple technique from my big sister. Apart from her school subjects, she could consistently produce outstanding results in virtually anything with nothing more than an hour or so of daily review. And once I adopted her study method, I managed to maintain a fairly respectable academic standing in my own right. When you get used to studying in brief chunks, you naturally start challenging yourself, pushing to see how far you can get with the limited time you have. Sometimes you'll look back after the hour's finished and be stunned at how much you accomplished. And so starting off with a quintessentially Japanese just-for-show attitude. Makina sits before her homework problems and pretends to ponder them. But as her style of pretending is pretty superficial, it amounts to little more than the childish parody of real studying. Her pen doesn't move an inch. Just moaning in a vaguely appropriate way doesn't really count, you know? At least try to use your head. This pretending business is sort of lamer than I expected. Realizing that is step 1. I mean, the world would be overflowing with geniuses if you could get smarter with no effort, right? Guess it's all for the best, though. Not like a super high IQ does that much but make life harder. Yeah, making sure I'm still alive, and as a matter of fact, I am. I sort of know what you mean. But I feel like geniuses who tell themselves that are probably pretty lonely people. You're talking like you actually know something about this. But people used to call me a prodigy when I was a kid, you know? I think I sort of know where you're coming from. People labeled prodigies and geniuses often come off as a little broken in the head. You're not laughing, huh? At what? I said I used to be a prodigy, but you're not laughing. I kind of understand what you mean. I don't have first-hand experience, but my hyper-competent big sister fell into a similar category. Children labeled prodigies have their hands full just meeting the expectations of those around them, and their brilliance earns resentment and jealousy from peers. At best, they end up walled off by their own exceptional status. As my sister often said, once they've set you apart, you're left with a choice. You can struggle to stay the genius, or you can play the fool and become a clown. And kind of think of it. It's easy to imagine that where my sister chose the former option, Makina went for the latter. You don't have to pretend to be an idiot around me, you know? I think you're overestimating me a bit there. To be honest, I've been pretending to be an idiot for so long I can't even figure out what the real me is anymore. What kind of person do you want me to be, Papa? I guess I like you the way you are. Well, not that I want you to keep acting like a doofus, but there's a lot I like about you right now. For example? Let's see, for example, the way you're earnest and proactive about everything. The way you never give up on something without even trying. These last few weeks, I've deliberately said some pretty absurd things to Makina, made some unreasonable demands. Even so, the girl gives everything a try. She's eager to discover new things she can do, and willing to work hard at things she can't yet manage. And when she does succeed at the task she struggled with, she comes running right over to me with her face full of pride, fishing for compliments. At the end of the day, the girl might just want my praise and respect, but it hardly matters why, does it? When I pat her on the head and say you did well, and see her squint like a contented kitten, mysteriously enough, I find myself thinking, alright, what should I teach her next? Almost like an affectionate parent. I find that more than a little strange, but I can't deny it makes me as happy as well. I'm willing to bet my master felt something similar when she adopted me. Looking at it from that angle, this make-believe game seems like almost some sort of karmic mission pressed on me by fate. It's a slightly creepy thought, but there's also something fulfilling about it. And I think you're cute the way you are. But that doesn't mean I'm okay with you being a clown for the rest of your life. I want to make that clear. Well, I get that I can't stay like this forever, you know? Gotta say, though, what's studying gonna do to change things? I mean, why do I even gotta study in the first place? Let's see. In your case, the fact that you're already pretty comfortable financially might be the biggest problem. The most compelling reason to study is probably when it's a step towards some lucrative future or dream career. Once you've decided what you want to do with your life, reading textbooks isn't exactly crucial. Like if you're determined to become a pianist, you can focus entirely on the piano and ignore the rest. Well, that's something of an extreme example, granted. Point is, it doesn't matter so much what you're learning. If you're really determined to become a concert pianist, for example, the piano becomes a lens through which you see everything else. By engrossing yourself in the piano, you gain a rich, broad understanding of the world. The kind of deep knowledge you'd never pick up from thumbing indifferently through textbooks. People can get myopic, of course. The difference between the word specialist and the term idiot savant is the difference between seeing the world through your field and mistaking your field for the world itself. Peering through the lens I picked up from my master, I got a pretty decent feel for the way things work out there. And as I learned, every scope you can pick offers its own unique perspective. Gazing through your chosen lens helps shape your values and defines you as a person. Makina, do you have any, I don't know, dreams? Something you want to be when you grow up, that sort of thing? Right now, being a baker or a sniper seems pretty cool, I guess. You're not lacking in variety, at least, I'll say. You've got the vaguely warm world of a baker, soothing people's souls through their taste buds, and a cold sniper tracking a distant target with death in their eyes. When it comes to common ground, I guess, they're both occupations requiring a lot of stoic behind-the-scenes effort. While I'm feeling a little dubious about Makina's future planning right now, as a parent I should be trying to leave as many paths open to her as possible. And considering my role as her master, I feel obligated not to laugh in her face. What am I supposed to do for her right now? It's a lot less clear. Glancing down at my watch, I find the dial reading 10 AM. Alright, that's an hour. We're done studying. But I haven't even started anything yet! If you're unhappy over wasting an hour of your life, why not use that time a little more productively tomorrow? Keep at it and take baby steps. That's how you form a lasting habit. I turned to the copy of Makina's schedule on the wall. The next block of the day has the words playtime scribbled next to it in sloppy letters. I have to say, doesn't this schedule have a great deal of playtime? That's kind of how it is when I got a day off from the store, you know? Anywho, time to play with me. Play what? What you used to play your old school, Papa? Don't think I recall a lot of playing in general. I gotten used to a way of life where extracurricular activities were limited to eating and sleeping, so my off days are usually some combination of napping, reading books, and studying. As for the guys around me, it was all cards, ponies, or boats. The rare outliers were the ones who opted for bikes or motorcycles instead. And I'm not about to ask the girl ponies or poker in the first place. I only went to the races or casinos when they forced me to tag along a group outing. In my old school, you needed to submit an application to leave the grounds on your days off. Without a stamped authorization card, they wouldn't let you take a step outside. This kinda sounds like a pain in the ass. It was indeed. There were a bunch of people who didn't get out much, myself included. So what are you gonna do this whole summer vacation? Just lounging around the dorm? No, I'm planning to visit a grave, for one thing. A grave? Whose? My master's in Yamanashi. Need to clean it up and all that. When are you going? Sometime before the Bond Festival. Figured I'd set a welcoming fire. Let's go today. So that's what they're gonna go out into the mountains for. Did give JB advance warning of my plans. More constructive than hanging around the dorm aimlessly. It's a little sudden, but I take my private cell phone from my breast pocket. Navigate to the number marked JB Harudera Yuria and press the call button. Yes? The phone rings several times before JB picks up. Her voice oozes with the bleary displeasure of an overworked public servant pulled out of bed by a telemarketer. Were you sleeping? There's been a lot of annoying work lately. I was just taking a little nap. Do you want something? It's about that trip to Asako's grave. I decided to go today. This is pretty abrupt. Didn't I tell you to report in once you figured out a date with at least 3 days advance warning? Thing is, when I woke up this morning, Asako was standing at my bedside with a bitterly resentful look on her face, cursing me for not visiting her grave. I burst into tears and said, "You've got it all wrong. It's JB's fault." But she just didn't seem to buy it. Come again? Why'd you blame me? JB, you were just sleeping yourself, right? Tell me, has Asako's spirit paid you a visit yet? Oh, Freeland, hi. Cut it out. I hate this sort of thing. Gotta visit Asako's grave as soon as possible. Give me permission to leave the prefecture. So I'm debating if I'm gonna want to maybe squeeze in some more Castlevania 3 a la carte tonight. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna do invisible characters again. At least not tonight. I wonder if I do it tomorrow, though. I definitely want to try invisible character Psychopath again. I mean, if I get a feel for some of the trickier bits, probably shouldn't be a problem to do a nice run through the game, maybe even get a deathless one, eventually. Still working on convincing you to play Castlevania 2 Rando. Oh, Simon's Quest Randomizer. Now really, why have I not gotten around to that yet? Halfway through the sentence, I happen to notice Amane's helmet lying in a corner of the room. Hold on. Actually, I think I'll get there on my own power after all. You're going to run?! No, I'll go by motorbike. A motorcycle? Whose? I'm borrowing Amane's. It's going to be a huge headache if you break a traffic law or get in an accident, you know. Please just take the train. How many times do I have to tell you that I can't stand trains? In that case, I won't give you permission. Or so I'd like to say, but I doubt that would stop you. Glad to see you understand the nature of her situation. Give me the go-ahead. Make sure to email me the license plate, VIN, and compulsory insurance number of the vehicle you're using, understood? I'll send that before I leave. We're going on Amani's Bobatoro? Bobatoro? Bobataro. Bobatoro. That's the name of the bike. That's right, Amani did say I could use it any time, you know? Figured I might as well take the chance to ride for the first time in a while. She did insure the thing properly, right? I don't know. Documents would probably be with the vehicle itself, I guess. Let's go take a look. After locating a motorcycle key engraved with the letter K among numerous others dangling on a hook by the door inside Amani's room, Makina and I promptly head to the parking lot near the courtyard. Amani does talk about this bike every once in a while, but I've never actually seen her riding the thing. I still remember the part where she was driving the car. Michiru tagging along. Amani drives pretty dangerously, but she's also freaking good at driving. At first I'd picture some sporty touring model with a parallel twin engine, but then again, Chizuru described it as a chopper that wouldn't look out of place in an American biker gang. So just really, what do we have here? Bracing myself for anything, I tear off the cover dramatically. What the hell? And still, the very first words out of my mouth are a simple expression of disbelief. Had the feeling something was off. For a general commercial model, the thing was just too short and too long. And indeed, under the vehicle sheet, under the sheet is no mere motorcycle. It's a genuine hot rod. Ridiculously low set, modified so violently that I can't even guess what the original model was. This is ridiculous. Looks like they cut it apart with a blowtorch and saw, then matched it back together. And the rear suspension's ludicrously short. Can't even remember the last time I saw a lowrider like this. Just from a glance, I can tell the frame's been cut at the neck. then elongated with a new weld at a different angle. And the conventional seat rail seems to have been chopped off entirely. It's been replaced by a small tandem seat sitting demurely on top of a tacked-on flat rear fender. Hell, even the main saddle's been replaced with a cruiser seat. I'd been expecting to find the documents in the storage space under the seat, which clearly doesn't even exist anymore. For a moment, I just stare at the hacked-together monstrosity in astonishment. I'm not familiar with the genre, but I guess it's the sort of motorcycle you'd call old school. This is really the sort of thing you could picture some American biker riding. That said, the delinquents over there are all riding super sports or power cruisers these days. The only people who really appreciate the classic American style anymore are old men with beer bellies and the Japanese. Oh, been a while since I've seen this guy. Do you have any idea where she stashed the papers? Probably there. Not like there's anywhere else you could put them, really. Leather tool bag hanging off the side of the motorcycle, secured at the fastener with a small padlock. Oh, right. There'd been a small key I couldn't identify on the same ring as the motorcycle key. Guess that must be for the bag. Let's see. The papers are... Oh, there we go. After removing the lock, I begin rifling through the contents of the cylindrical bag. Sifting through a minor assortment of tools, I discover a sheaf of papers rolled into a plastic tube. Owner, Suamane. We've got the VIN and license plate number. And the compulsory insurance. Looks like it's good through April next year. Damn, she's even got supplementary insurance with a rider covering a passenger. Amani's got it together with that sort of stuff. We should learn from her example. Alright then. Looks like there won't be any issues using this. Only remaining problem is whether or not it's actually going to move. What? Seems like the old man's been a bit out of sorts lately. She hasn't been riding it at all these days. Well, you could chop it up and sew it together back like Frankenstein's monster. So it's hardly surprising the thing might get a little cranky. Okay then, I'll leave Bobotaro to you. I'm gonna get started on them lunches. Indeed, I'll take care of it. That said, easy enough to talk big, but what's the deal with this thing? I can't even tell what it used to be before they started hacking away at it. Looking at the papers, it seems like the base was an off-road motorcycle, more precisely. A dual-purpose trail bike that could handle messing around in the dirt. But the motor model doesn't match the vehicle type. Did they swap in an engine from a totally different motorcycle? Completely ridiculous. Hell, where do you even put the key into this thing? There's nothing that looks like an ignition cylinder on the top bridge. After repeatedly looking over both sides of the frame, I finally discover the keyhole's been relocated under the main seat on the right. Inserting the key, I give an exploratory half-turn to the right, and in the custom mini-meter wedged on the left of the tank, the green neutral light and red oil light blink to life. Battery seems to be alive. I reach out to the right handle and feel around for the starter switches, but they aren't where I expect them to be either. Looking more carefully at the engine, the self-starter motor seems to have been removed entirely. The hole's plugged up with a black rubber stopper. It's a kick? Fighting down a wave of irritation, I look over to the right side of the frame and find the kickstart lever. It's unusually shaped. Looks custom ordered. Probably designed to keep the brake from getting in the way when you're kicking down to start it. Wait, is this thing forward on the left and mid-control on the right? Unbelievable. Guess I should be grateful they didn't throw on a suicide clutch while they were at it. Probably because the rear brake is a cable-pulling drum type, the pedal's positioned further back compared to the shift lever on the left side. Seems like it'd feel a little weird. I mean, once the thing gets up to speed, you'll just be resting your right foot on the forward peg anyway, but having to move your leg all the way back to get to the brake is even more disconcerting. In any case, let's see how the engine runs. I flip open the cap of the carelessly unlocked tank and find plenty of gasoline inside. And within seconds I can see volatilizing petroleum shimmering in the summer sunshine. Looks as though the fuel's still good. After switching the petcock valve under the tank from off to on, I pull the choke plunger on the carburetor halfway out. Then put my foot on the kickstart and lightly press around the lever in search of the top dead center. The moment I discover the point of greatest resistance, I give it a good hard kick. Oh, that was easy enough. Considering how long the vehicle's just been sitting here neglected, the motorcycle starts up so easily that it actually feels like a bit of an anticlimax. A vehicle this heavily customized is normally a bit more ornery. Was Amane actually keeping this thing maintained all the time it's been sitting here? Just as I'm feeling a good bit of admiration for its owner, there's a strange little sneeze from the motorcycle's exhaust pipe, and its vigorously idling engine abruptly stalls. Whoops. Well, figured it wouldn't be that easy. I give the kick pedal another vigorous step, but this time it doesn't even cough. There's no sign of the ignition even engaging. You've got to be kidding me, right? Battered down by the blazing summer sun, lukewarm sweat trickling heavily down my forehead. I mash down the kick lever again and again. The neutral light's still on, so the electronics are still functioning. The battery's a small MF type, designed to power mopeds and scooters, but with a kickstart, that should be more than enough. Even though the electrical system's fine, we're not getting a spark. And the engine did start once just a minute ago, which would mean $10 says the CDI's on the fritz. Capacitor Discharge Ignition, or CDI for short. It's a generic term for an electronic device that controls the ignition of an engine. Among the extremely simple mechanical parts of a typical motorcycle engine, it stands out as a comparatively advanced piece of electronics. Because of that complexity, it's not uncommon for it to malfunction. Especially given its position in a rough environment of high heat and constant vibration. Sometimes it'll abruptly stop working entirely. Damn it, where's the CDI? No, that's the turn signal relay. And this is the headlight booster relay. Okay, what's this thing? The fuse box? The fuse isn't blown? God damn it, it's hot. A black puddle of sweat forms on the ground beside me as I squat next to the bike. Where's the damn CDI? After a good 10 minutes of groping along the harness, I finally noticed an inconspicuous side cover just below the seat on the left side. After removing it, I discover a square black object sitting next to the regulator/rectifier. Found it. There you are, you little bastard. Carefully removing the coupler connecting the CDI to the harness, I intensely scrutinize the little black box, but there's no visual evidence of being damaged. Then again, it's not exactly the sort of part you can reliably assess by eyeballing. Reaching my thumb around behind the plastic cover, I gently rub the electronic guts of the unit, through their protective coat of epoxy resin. When the CDI is keeping your engine from starting, this will often be enough to bring it back to life. Of course, that's really just a temporary stopgap measure, not a resolution of the fundamental problem, but if this does get the engine firing again, that would confirm the CDI is responsible. Then kick down on the pedal once more. I told you so, asshole. It really was the CDI. Hand over that 10. As I vent my spleen on some vaguely defined imaginary foe, Amane's motorcycle, Bobotaro, springs easily back to life. It proceeds to rumble pleasantly away underneath me. I have to say, this thing is pretty noisy. I'll take this sort of growling over high-pitched shrieking any day, but if I got this thing going and drove past some elementary school, it'd definitely be loud enough to get the kids grimacing and covering their ears with their hands. Guess I'll have to put some steel wool or something in the exhaust pipe and quiet it down. I just watch over the thing as it idles for a while, but the engine doesn't seem inclined to sputter off again. Maybe the CDI itself just wasn't the issue? The contact with the coupler might just have been off. Temporarily stopping the engine, I check the oil and lights, and move on to testing the front and rear brakes. All good. But when I finally get around to looking at the air pressure on the tires, Christ, are you serious? It's got a damn flat. Am I going to have to change a tire in this absurd heat? Cut me a damn break already. Sighing heavily, I lean my head back and gaze up into the sky. Within seconds, I can feel the tip of my nose scorching under the blazing sunlight. I'm sorely tempted to say just screw it, but after all this effort, giving up and going by train would seriously be galling in its own right. This might take some time. I decide to temporarily return to my room and rehydrate myself. Fortunately, it doesn't prove to be anything quite serious. When I start pumping air back into the tire, it inflates back up normally, and the pancake on the bottom disappears completely in a matter of minutes. Why is it that tube tires always manage to lose air just by sitting in a parking lot? While this minor mystery nags at me somewhat, by the time 11 rolls around, we've successfully readied everything we need for our trip. Alright. Are all preparations for departure complete? Box selection is prepared. Cell phone fully charged. Drinking water secured. Health insurance cards at the ready. We are good to go, sir. Excellent. The time is currently 1100 hours. We're beginning the operation. All personnel embark. straddling Bobataro like a bold general swinging onto his warhorse. I deposit Makina in the tandem seat, make sure she's got a firm grip on my waist, then kick the bike into first gear with the tip of my left foot, and slowly squeeze the clutch lever to the handle. Looks like it's going to be another hot one. You did put on sunscreen, right? You betcha. And I made sure to bring the bottle along so I could recoat too. As we begin to leisurely putter along the coastal road in the direction of Yamanashi Prefecture, Makina and I talk through the two-way FM radios we use for our sniper games. Naturally, I've hooked them up to throat mics for hands-free operation. You're a pretty good driver, Papa, aren't ya? I don't think this is any scarier than riding behind a Mane. You're not really going too fast either. You think? I mean, what kind of an idiot would start rolling around on a bike like this? If a tire loses a little air, your levels would be dragging along the ground. A low center of gravity is nice, but this is ridiculous. I've never driven a motorcycle this bizarrely low to the ground before. But just leisurely gliding along in the wake of the car ahead doesn't feel half bad. That said, I can't help but thinking its overall lack of power and weak maneuverability is going to be an issue once we get on those steep mountain roads. Let's take it slow and easy. You and Amani are so lucky, Papa. You got licenses so you can go wherever you want like this. You're old enough to have a license yourself, Makina. Why don't you take the test? Told her I wanted to get a license. And she's all, don't do that, it's too dangerous. If it's so friggin' dangerous, how come she does it, you know? What a total hypocrite. I guess I can sort of understand how she feels. It's easy to picture Makina hopping on a moped or something, shouting, "Okay then, I'm going off to play," and tottering off into the distance. At which point you'd be sitting by the phone biting your nails, waiting for a call from some hospital or the police. When you snatch away something from a child and tell them it's dangerous, they'll go to any lengths to play with it behind your back. Personally, I feel like it's better to just let them learn under strict supervision. But maybe that's a testosterone-infused way of looking at it. Wonder if I can learn to drive this thing too. Let's see, the way you balance, turn, and stop are all pretty similar to a bicycle. So I don't think it'd be impossible for you to learn. But unlike Amane, you short enough stubby legs. Might be a little tricky for you to get the hang of it right now. So that's a no? For starters, let's stick to practicing on your bicycle. Maybe next time we can try some gymkhana in the parking lot at school. What's that? It's an ideal game for learning the most fundamental part of operating a two-wheeled vehicle. Shifting your body weight while controlling the contact patch and loading your tires. You compete for the best time on an obstacle course. Sounds kind of fun. You'll fall off constantly until you get used to it, you know. I know I did. By the way, Papa, when's the first time you ever rode a motorcycle? When I was 14 or so, I think. Drove around on the private land up in the mountains where I was living with my master. Right, she started me off by making me climb onto this full-size dirt bike she used to ride. And my legs weren't even close to reaching the ground. So I'd have to reach up and squeeze the clutch with one foot on the gear shift, then swing up onto the seat only after the thing started moving. Getting it started wasn't a picnic, but stopping was just as much of a pain. I had a choice between accelerating as much as possible before jumping down onto the brake, or stopping myself manually with a foot against some stone or a tree. Looking back on it now, it's pretty impressive that I managed to ride the thing at all. What was it like? Were you scared at first? I've been riding bicycles for a long time, so I don't remember being particularly scared. After all, I wasn't trying to pull any death-defying stunts. Compared to the terror I'd experienced previously, it probably didn't even register. Come to think of it, I didn't feel particularly afraid the first time I took my master's place in the field either. Even after finishing the job, returning home, and completing my report, she asked, "Were you scared?" Honestly, I answered no. Hell, it almost felt like I'd had fun. But when night came, and there was nothing left to do but take a bath and go to sleep, I found myself holding my dick over the toilet bowl, completely unable to piss. A small twinge of doubt ran through me, and I finally noticed my hands were shaking. As the tension finally drained out of me like a string removed from a bow, I was seized by terror so intense I thought I might never stop shaking. I casually, almost thoughtlessly, slipped by a situation where one wrong step could have meant death. Mixed in with the fear was a wave of thankfulness for my sheer dumb luck. I was fortunate today, but the dice might very well fall differently next time. With that thought, the shaking grew stronger. Even now, I can vividly remember the terror I felt that night. But after experiencing that fear again and again, I guess you could say I obtained the ability to control those things. Or maybe I just gained a nose for danger and the instinct to avoid it. When you get right down to it, I think it might just be a matter of experience and caution. Put in enough hours to develop the foresight to see trouble coming ahead of time and you'll be completely fine. You're at greatest risk when you start thinking, I'm on top of my game today, bring it on. Basically, don't get too carried away or end up taking a fall. That pretty much sums up riding a motorcycle. I already explained with the bicycle last time, but any vehicle is safe as long as you stay aware of your surroundings and give yourself a generous margin for error. I gotcha. It's like you told me before, yeah? Go half your comfortable maximum normally and 70% when you're in a rush. If it starts feeling scary, you're already past 80%. Best to stay at least one step below scary territory, right? You got the idea. Incidentally, right now I'm going at about half my baseline pace. Don't know how much I can trust a mini-beater wedged onto a different company's bike, but roughly 50 kilometers per hour. Sort of one step up above pick it up Gramps territory. Given this speed and following distance, even if the guy in front of us spills hot coffee on his pants and smashes into the guardrail, we wouldn't have any problem dealing with this situation. Safety is fastest in the long run, right? Maybe I should try and get a license like you guys after all. What's it like driving a motorcycle anyway? Posed this question by Makina, I briefly paused to consider. Do you remember the first day you rode a bicycle? For Makina, it was practically just the other day, so I'm sure she remembers it vividly. The feelings it inspired might not have even faded completely. On the day you learned to ride a bike, the day you pedaled down an unfamiliar road for the first time, didn't it feel like the world had suddenly grown larger around you? This world's an endless road that can take you anywhere at all, and that bicycle could carry you much, much further than your weak little legs. That first day, did you ask yourself just how far can I go? The first day I rode a motorcycle, that open question was replaced with something I felt like an answer. I can go wherever the hell I want. That's what a motorcycle is. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't get it. Can you give me the abbreviated version? I don't even know. You can go where you want, stop where you want, even just ride along with no destination at all if you want. That's what a motorcycle is. You condensed it so much it's even harder to understand than before. I consult my watch to discover that it's already 1 in the afternoon. As if on cue, Makina begins complaining about her grumbling stomach, so I pull over at random in a suitable spot and lay out our plastic picnic sheet for a little late lunch. The lunchboxes Makina prepared were, as she declared earlier, packed primarily with freshly baked cinnamon rolls and pumpkin bread. According to Makina, making these required comparatively little effort on her part, as the bread machine took care of the primary fermentation. But that said, the taste is nothing to scoff at. The girl claims that anyone with a bread maker and a functional brain could achieve such results. I'm slightly moved to learn that we're living in an era where even amateurs can produce bread of this caliber, but at the same time, I feel as though I've caught a glimpse of dark clouds gathering on the horizon for the bakery industry. Hey, Papa, see all those short little trees growing over there? Are those grape trees? Okay. First of all, grapes grow on vines. Secondly, those are mulberry trees. Mulberry? Is that, like, the grape's loyal companion? Why are you so cut up on the grapes anyway? I mean, we're in Yamanashi, you know? Try not to talk about Yamanashi as it's got grapes to offer the world. The good people of Koshu will give you a swift boot to the rear. Why not? Do they got something other than grapes then? Peaches? Papa, I think them Koshu people might not come in for you first. Wait, no. There's also Hodo soup and those rice cakes with black honey, you know. Don't mess with the valley, okay? I'm not really messing with anybody, you know. For one thing, I love grapes and peaches. Although Okayama's got plenty of that, too. Did you really have to say that last part? Such a cheeky little brat. Who'd you get that chutzpah from, anyway? I'm thinking you, Papa. Alright. Well, anyway, that's a mulberry tree. Food for your Bombik S'mori. Who's this Mori guy? You don't know about silkworm moths? You farm the larvae and make silk from their cocoons. The industry's been around forever, you know. Silk's made by moth babies? Yeah, it's a natural fiber. You didn't know that either? Sort of like making a violin bow from the whiskers of a whale? Wrong on many levels, but the strange thing is I can actually understand what you're trying to say somehow. Can I take a little look-see? Just looking is fine might be, but don't start plucking off fruit. You got that? Also, put your hat on first. Gotcha! Just like that, Makina darts off into the blazing sun, flapping her outstretched arms like a bird as she rushes over toward the mulberry field. Thanks to her diminutive frame, she looks like a young child heading off to play. The girl shows interest in anything and everything she encounters. When she runs into something she doesn't understand, she immediately asks why. In return, I offer what answers I can from my own experience and knowledge. When that fails me, we think it over together. Sometimes hearing Makina's perspective leads me to new insights on my own. I guess it might be what people mean when they say teaching. Someone means learning from them in return. Come to think of it, it was my own instructor who told me that. The person who taught me everything and made me want to learn in the first place. Not a parent or a teacher. Kusakabe Asako, my master. The woman who single-handedly built me up from nothing, for better and worse. I'm at least 80% the person she made me. She found a whelp crawling along the bottom of the Valley of Despair, reached down her hand, and pulled it up into the world of human beings. For Asako, picking me up might have been an afterthought, an impulsive, spur-of-the-moment decision, not much more than a whim. Even so, if I hadn't met her, I wouldn't be what I am today. I probably would have given up on life outright a long time ago, but Asako was there on that day, in that moment. She took me by the hand. Thanks to her and the people around her, primarily a certain aggravating, shaggy-headed blonde, I'm standing here today. I'm still living, carrying the final words she left me in my heart. What was the point of keeping a piece of trash like me alive? I want an answer to that question. That, more than anything else, is what keeps me going. I was deep in thought, and then Makina starts screaming, Papa. I saw the mulberry field! There were lots and lots of long-horned beetles! No kid. Hey, wait a second, what are you eating? Well, it's a watermelon, see? There's an old farmer lady over there, right? I got it from her, Padna. Okay, you could put a finger in your mouth and stare at the melon with the big wistful eyes, didn't you? Please tell me you at least said thank you. I think that via something proper. What? She's already picked up some weird snatches of Koshu dialect just from talking with a local for a few minutes? The girl sure adapts quickly. No, maybe her brain's just pliable as a piece of putty? I stand beside Makina and bow deeply to the kind farmer. Alright then, seems like we're more than hydrated enough. I think it's time we got back on the road. Let's allons-y on the double, Papere! You know, your dialect's a little off there. Where did Makina learn that French? Let's allons-y. Let's go. Where did she learn her French? Seems like the field artillery's practicing today. When my ears begin to pick up the air-shaking thunder of the guns in the distance, it feels like we finally entered the Yamanashi I know. Among the vehicles we pass on the road, squat medium trucks and high-mobility vehicles painted khaki grow increasingly common. At what point, I make eye contact with a commander sticking his head out of the cupola of a passing Type 96 and have to restrain the impulse to salute. I have to say, Makina, for someone who's supposedly so shy around strangers, you're pretty sociable. Although Irisu Makina has firmly established her position as the shy girl in Miyama Academy, from what I've seen, this reputation seems somewhat exaggerated. In fact, just the other day, I witnessed her impudently sponging chestnut candy off some old couple on a bench outside a sweet shop in the shopping district. How rude. You make me sound like some evil con artist taking advantage of addled old fogies with impaired judgment to nab myself a few bits of candy. You did in fact proceed to munch away at the chestnuts with a dopey look of bliss on your face. There might have been some snorting and snuffling involved. Well yeah, maybe there was. Maybe I ate those suckers, but they asked me, do you want some? So I just said yeah, like the honest soul I am. It's not like I was begging for the chestnuts, you know? So my question is, how exactly are you supposed to be shy again? It's not like I'll talk to just anyone, you know? I sort of pick and choose. Come to think of it, it does seem like you're always targeting kind-looking older people. Can you try not to put it like that? I mean, not that you're wrong or anything, but... So I guess elderly people aren't scary, is that it? I might just be that I'm more used to them. I mean, I was in the hospital for 6 years with a bunch of half-dead geezers for company, you know? I got an eye for geezers by now. What? Because she spent all that time surrounded by geezers, she never had the chance to pick up the niceties of interacting with people her age, making it awkward to approach them, I guess? There's two kinds of old people out there. The ones who have tasted the sweet and bitter sides of life, gain their perspective, accept the world for what it is, and ease to tranquil maturity, and the shameless rock-headed geezers who decide their experiences are the only thing that matters, wasting their final years bitterly cursing everyone with different opinions or values. People tend to call the former a kindly elder and the latter a grumpy old fogey, but anywho, since I was sitting around the hospital for 6 whole years and all, I'm pretty friggin' confident my ability to pick the good geezers from the rotten ones is on a whole different level. I see. By the way, Poppy, you're pretty crotchety yourself. The whole reason I started warming up to you in the first place was I thought you were kind of like a grandpa. A grandpa? I do get you don't act much like a kid pretty frequently, but this is a first. You're weirdly calm, I guess? And it's like, I don't know, there's something real steady and solid deep down at your core, like a tough old tree or something? Like a samurai? A young warrior? That sort of vibe, maybe. Now that you mention it, there was this one time JB saw me repairing my tools on the weekend. Said, you look like a Ronin making umbrellas. Something like that. True enough, I've never disliked jobs that call for a steady accumulation of sober effort, but I can't say I was expecting a comparison to a masterless swordsman, living austerely off his handicrafts. About 2.5 hours have passed since our departure from the dorm. We've reached an area I know by sight. No longer even bothering to check the map, I doggedly ride up familiar mountain roads toward our destination. The path begins to narrow steadily. It's still paved, fortunately, but soon it's enough to deserve the description of farm road. If a car were to come in the opposite direction, we wouldn't be able to pass each other. That said, the odds of us running into traffic are pretty much zero. At this point, all we have ahead of us is one lonely cell phone tower and an iron gate guarding the entrance to an obscure national forest. The only people we could possibly run into up here would be maintenance workers for the telecom company, or tourists who took a few wrong turns, I suppose. Bobotaro labors up the final stretch of road, straining to carry his 2 passengers up the 15-degree slope, 26 at his worst points. His tappets clack beneath us in a constant chorus of complaint. And finally, after passing 3 sets of faded signboards reading authorized personnel only beyond this point, set some 100 meters apart, the iron gate we're looking for comes into view. We're here, Makina. So, main character Yuji, Makina tagging along, went to his master's grave. The girl rubs her tender rear end through her skirt, twirling around like a dog chasing its own tail. Turning my back on her, I insert my key into the padlock on the hefty iron gate. So is this your mountain, Papa? It's technically the country's mountain. My master and I lived in the cabin up here, managing the land. 30-minute walk from here. We gotta walk? I'd like to ride up there myself, but I don't think Bobotaro here would handle a rocky slope like this too well. Beyond the open gate, a coarse gravel road continues into the mountains, slanting sharply upward at a good 30 degrees or so. Unless you're driving a 4WD Jeep or dirt bike with off-road tires, getting a vehicle up this would be pretty tricky. Amane's Bobotaro is a road bike, poorly suited to mountain trails to begin with. And given the ridiculous lowrider remodeling, it'd clearly get its belly stuck in the dirt before climbing 10 meters. Don't tell me. We're gonna be climbing a ridiculously steep trail like this for 30 straight minutes. It's only steep by the entrance. After 30 meters or so, the slope gets a lot more gentle. I'll try to think of it as a nice little leisure hike. I kill Bobotaro's engine, then sling Makina's rucksack over my left shoulder. Leaving our friend sitting in first gear in the middle of the road, the two of us step past the gate. Things haven't changed much in my absence from the mountain. As always, the air is thick with the lusty cries of cicadas, but there's no sign of human presence. Other than the squawking insects, the only sounds are the crunching of our feet against the grappling weeds. And Makina's labored breathing, growing quicker and louder with every minute. You alright? Yeah, I'm fine. The girl can be surprisingly stubborn at times like these. Probably an attempt to demonstrate she's not a helpless weakling who needs to be babied constantly. Still have to be sure to keep an eye on her, though, or she might end up collapsing to the ground and falling asleep on the spot. Can I ask you a question, Papa? About what? The person whose grave we're visiting, your master. What kind of person was she? Where do I even begin? Come to think of it, although I brought up Asako numerous times, I don't remember getting into the details. I mean, nobody really seemed that interested. No, I guess it was just too awkward to ask. My master's name was Kusakabe Asako. We were first met when I was 12 or 13 or so. She was a lot older than me, obviously. I'd lost my entire family a while before this. At the time, a friend of my dad's had taken me in, but, well, that family friend was what you'd call a bad guy. The kind of man who slips through the cracks in the law, profiting off misery and tearing money away from soft-hearted people. The bad guy in question made some enemies on the shadier side of our government. Bit off a little more than he could chew. They decided to bring the hammer down. And the small assault force that invaded the villain's lair, well, mansion, and suppressed it in the blink of an eye was led by my master. So the person who saved you from the bad guy when you were a kid became your master? That's the basic outline. So you were living here with your master ever since? Not constantly. We lived here for the first year or so, but I ended up getting shipped off to America fairly soon because of some circumstances with Asako's employer. San Diego, California, right? Good memory. After that I was Quantico in Virginia, but you ended up back in Japan eventually, I guess. That's right, and in between all that I lived with Asako. She's the one who helped me find the strength I needed to live. So in other words, just like you're a papa to me, your master was a mama to you? Don't think mommy quite covers it. If I had to categorize the woman, I'd say she was my master. But in the sense that she raised a cowardly snot-nosed brat into a reasonably competent man, I guess you could say she was something like a mother. Kusakabe Asako was the only person I've ever called master, and the only person I ever will. I was nothing but a filthy little cockroach she happened to carry home from her job one night. We weren't related, she had no obligation to do anything but flush me down the toilet. And instead, she spent the rest of her life raising me. The woman was a fortunate force of nature, infallible and unshakable. Even if she's gone, Kusakabe Asako will always be the strongest woman in the world to me. Just as I estimated, after about 30 minutes of trudging up the mountain forest around, this begins to thin, and the rough dirt trail grows gentle and slope. As we reach an even plot of land that seems to have been cut neatly out of a natural plateau, a single log cabin comes into view beyond a chained-up metal gate. Alright, Makina. We're here. I'm exhausted. Too hot. I'ma die. Is that the house you grew in, Papa? Grew up in? Well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, this is the house where I was raised. It's only been 2 months or so since I left, but the cabin's already under siege by thick wild grasses. The sight inspires a small twinge of melancholy. I'm tempted to start attacking those weeds right away, but I guess we should go in and rest for a while first. Inviting the girl back to your place? Are your intentions honorable, sir? Tee-hee-hee. Don't tee-hee-hee me, kid. I have to call up Amane and give her yet another scolding. What's the inside of the cabin gonna look like? The interior of the cabin, naturally enough, hasn't changed at all in the months since I saw it last. Even after I left, I'm pretty confident JB kept up that melodramatic habit of dropping by for a solitary drink in memory of the departed. But although she's surprisingly averse to cleaning for someone with such an anal personality, it seems she wasn't quite lazy enough to leave her crumpled cans and potato chip wrappers lying around the place. So this is the house you were raised in, huh? There's sorta, I don't know, more stuff than I expected. Got a TV and all. Well, it's not like I was living on my own. Only partially paying attention to the conversation, I wander over to the fridge and reach for the handle. Still cold. Guess the electricity's still flowing. Want something to drink? Nothing but beer and smoked cheese, huh? Oh, these Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest rando, you mean? What little we do have is clearly just leftovers from JB's visits. Other than the booze and snacks, there's also 3 bottles of my favorite eye drops sitting on a lower shelf. Probably the woman's attempt at a thoughtful gesture in case I decide to return at some point. What are the eye drops for? You're not gonna drink those now, are you? Catch. What's this? Eye drops? A sniper's eyes are their life. Give that stuff a try. If you apply some to both eyes 30 minutes before shooting and stretch your ocular muscles, your focusing speed changes pretty dramatically. Let's see here. Gazing curiously at the bottle in her hand, Makina carefully breaks the seal and leans her head back with mouth slightly ajar to apply the drops. 1 drop per eye is plenty. No need to blink too much either. Give it a second. Then slowly start moving your eyes in figure eights. Slowly open your eyes. Alternate between looking at something nearby and something far away. Helps get you focusing properly. Something close. Something far. That's all there is to it. Just repeat this 4 times a day. Morning, noon, evening, and before you go to bed. You still listening? Hey, Papa. That photo. Makina's eyes, after focusing at a random, distant object, have stopped darting back and forth. What did you miss? Usually Makina went up into the mountains. Usually specifically wanting to visit his master's grave and clean it. Also Makina tagged along. And now they're in the cabin that Yuji used to live in with his master. Looking at a single photograph of Asako and me as a kid standing in a frame. When I left this cabin behind, I deliberately flipped it face down in an attempted symbolic closure, but now it's been returned to its original position. Damn it, JB. Mind your own business. Is that person on the photo your master? Yeah, that's right. I reach out and take the frame from the bookshelf. This is the one and only photograph of Asako remaining in this world. It was taken not too long after she first took me in. The day she dragged me off to a zoo in Ueno on what seemed like a whim. Not really a photograph I want to show off, but... I pass over the frame to Makina, who proceeds to intently contemplate the photo inside. Asako glowers at the camera, eyebrows furrowed in clear irritation. At her side, a younger me stares coldly at nothing in particular, eyes clouded but glittering with a venomous sheen. I got a pretty awful look on my face, right? At the time, I was just completely empty. Didn't give a damn about anything or anyone. Pretty much just a dead kid that forgot to stop breathing. I guess Asako got so fed up watching me that she decided to try her hand at babysitting. Not exactly her field of expertise, you understand. What happened to you? The abbreviated version is that my whole family died, and I was deeply involved in their deaths. I was responsible, so I couldn't just push the blame on someone else. That self-loathing was probably just too much for me to deal with. Wrapped myself up in a shell instead. But thanks to Asako, I managed to get back on my feet somehow. She gave me, if not a reason to live, then at least an excuse not to die. I might almost seem too vigorous these days, but if I hadn't met Asako, I might well have died a long time ago. She saved your life? Yeah, then she went and died before I had the chance to repay the debt. Unbelievable, right? That's sad. That's not how I felt about it, actually. I didn't really mourn when Asako passed. I'd been prepared for the possibility she might die at any time, but for some reason I still had a hard time believing she was actually gone. Guess there was a part of me that couldn't accept that monster of a woman was really dead. If there was one word that described Asako, it was ridiculous. Not a shred of common sense in her body. She was a bull of a woman, and the world was her personal china shop. And to me, she was something like a god. Or a devil. Maybe both. A devil? A god? Either way, sounded like she was a pretty amazing person? Okay, here's a story. This actually happened the same day that picture was taken. I was just sitting around, wallowing in self-hatred, holding a private pity party, honestly. As if that was going to make up for anything. All of a sudden, Asako grabs me with a hand and drags me off to the zoo. She showed me all these animals I've never seen before, probably hoping to at least get some minor sign of interest out of me. But I was really acting like a brat back then. I mean, I actually was a brat, but still. I kept myself inside that shell, not even twitching an eyebrow at anything she showed me. And I guess that attitude got Asako pretty irritable after a while. So the two of us are just standing there staring at the lions in complete silence, when all of a sudden this one guy opens his mouth wide and tries to scare us off with a giant roar. And next thing I know, Asako's bellowing, "Shut the hell up. Don't groar me, asshole, I'll fucking kill you." So yeah, she was the sort of person to get into a shouting contest with the king of the beasts and win. Woman was nuts. Amazing! I mean, her opponent was locked up in a cage. Anyone could have yelled at him if they wanted to, but when Asako screamed in his face, the animal actually flinched, then just backed away slowly. You should have seen the look on his face. So there I was, gawking up at her with my eyes wide open, thinking this woman's a complete lunatic, and when I noticed I was smiling, guess that was the moment when I started slowly regaining halfway normal emotions. And thanks to that, I got to meet you! I should be grateful too, huh? Well, I don't know about that. Who says meeting you was really a good thing? Hard to know for sure yet, don't you think? But at the very least, don't you think you're the biggest influence in my life right now, Papa? When you put it like that, I feel a little weight on my shoulders. Hey, Asako! I feel the same way as Makina. I remember what you said to me just before you died. Sorry, Yuji. Ran my big mouth about teaching you how to live, but training you to do an ugly job in the shadows is the best I could manage. Maybe so, but I'm still grateful to you. Because even now, your words are what keep me stumbling forward. Without intending to do so, I ended up on a fairly lengthy digression about my past. Among many mixed emotions, a small flush of embarrassment rose to the surface. I abruptly declared break time over, then led Makina around the shed out back. Although we always called it a shed, the building itself was pretty impressive, not that different from the main cabin in size. It's a storehouse packed full of the tools and provisions necessary to live up here. I pulled Makina along to the storehouse, seeking out weapons with which to confront the well-entrenched hordes of weeds that have flourished in the summer heat. Specifically, we received a few hand scythes and spades, an old lawnmower, and a pair of straw hats hanging from nails on the wall. A good straw hat with a wide brim is indispensable for weeding under the blazing sun. I put on the hot hat Asako used when she was alive, then dropped the smaller one I wore as a child onto Makina's head. It takes us another 5 minutes of climbing up the mountain to reach Asako's grave, not far from the summit. Her gravestone stands in a spot affording an unbroken view of the basin below. While the location may be good, the gravestone itself is hardly worthy of the name. It's just a huge, fairly decent-looking rock picked at random from the woods, then half buried in the ground to keep it erect. In fact, the rough surface of the stone doesn't even have a name chiseled into it. It's a crude marker and nothing else. Even so, there's no doubt that Asako's remains are resting here. I was the one who took the ashes from the funeral home and buried them. Then I was the one who raised the gravestone above them. When it came to religion, Asako's official position was no policy. She used to half-joke about it. If I croak, just bury me wherever. I won't complain as long as you burn me up first. You can just poke a popsicle stick into the ground for a gravestone. Left with these half-assed instructions to work off after Asako's death. JB arranged for the cremation, then agreed to leave the rest entirely to me. I was a complete loss for a while, but in the end decided to make the mountain where we'd live together be your final resting place. Nobody criticized that choice, remote and lonely as it might seem. Asako never had a family to begin with, and her best friend JB had no complaints about my decision. But since I was the one who chose this place, the duty of maintaining it also rests with me. Starting the engine of the lawnmower I pushed up here from the shed, I have Makina hang back while I mow down the weeds in one sweep. When that's done, I switch to my spade and quietly begin digging away at their stubborn roots. Makina follows behind as I steadily work my way around the clearing. As I hack down the weeds and pull them out of the earth, she picks them up and collects them in heavy-duty trash bags. It's ridiculously hot, dirty, and monotonous work. Not a fun job in any way, shape, or form, but Makina holds out surprisingly well, not complaining even once as we fight our way through the overgrown wild grasses. We keep it up for maybe 2 hours, covered in sweat and grime. It feels even longer than that. By the time I finally sit down to stretch out my aching back, having fully liberated Asako's gravestone from the summer weeds that had nearly engulfed it, we filled 8 of our 70-liter trash bags to the brim. Guess that's good enough. Looking at the girl biting her lower lip with something uncertain in her eyes. I realized I've been hacking away at the weeds in total silence all this time. She may have been struggling along beside me in an attempt to be considerate. Slightly touched, I speak to her in the gentlest tone of voice I can manage. You're tired, right? Let's call it a day. Taking the towel I'd wrapped around my neck for protection against the sun, I wiped the dirt from her face. Apparently understanding the gesture I've finished, this simple greeting to my departed friend, Makina's formerly tense face loosens into a dopey, ticklish smile. By the time the colors of evening fill the sky, we put away our tools and return to the grave. I light a bundle of wooden chopsticks resting on a plate from the cabin's kitchen, a small welcoming fire for Asako's spirit. Since Asako loved her drink, I also brought a can of beer from the fridge. Popping it open, I set it upside down on top of the gravestone and let the contents pour out. The thin, fluttering flame in its column of smoke are the signal beacon. The beer's the bait to make sure she doesn't hesitate to drop by. I close my eyes and press my hands together. A moment later, I can hear Makina do the same. Yeah, pouring beer on someone's gravestone. That doesn't seem normal, but then again, Asako didn't seem like your ordinary Asako was not your ordinary person. Hey Asako. I'm still dragging my sorry hide around, trying to figure out why you kept me alive. No luck on that front. But even so, I think there are a few things I'm starting to understand, little by little. The things I can do, the things only I can do, the things I have to do, and the things I want to do. Tell me something, Asako. Was this how it was for you as well? Did it start off as just a whim, taking me in like that? Even so, did that small presence at your side end up becoming your reason to live? I'm starting to feel like I can understand now. Not it's complicated, really. You just saw a face one day, and somehow you just vaguely knew it was the one thing in the world you need to protect, am I right? All of a sudden, you're telling yourself, now I get it. Maybe I've been living all this time so I could be here for this, to protect this one thing. This is Irisu Makina. I speak out loud to the wavering flame, introducing Makina to Asako's grave. See? Look at that. I found something I want to protect as well. Just as you had your doubts back then, I don't know yet if I'm making the right decisions. And I understand that things never go as smoothly as planned. Amane and I, currently playing the roles of mom and dad, probably do possess broader experience and knowledge than Makina. And we like to think that we understand her to some degree, but even so, I can't say with any confidence that the well-intentioned advice we gave her is necessarily worthwhile. In separating the right from the wrong, there's only one decision that won't lead to regret. The one Makina makes herself. Right now, she says she wants to be a baker or a sniper. But whatever road she chooses to follow, the decision ultimately has to be up to her. You told me something about this once, right? If you want to choose the better path, listen carefully to the people who've walked the trail before you. As many of them as you could find. Fortunately enough, Makina is still very young. She'll have the chance to hear many people's thoughts, and I think she should actually seek them out. There's a limit to the amount of information any one human being can directly obtain. Don't get caught up with the things in front of your nose. Keep trying for the big picture perspective and you won't go wrong too often. Right, Asako? Hey, Makina. Want to say a little something to Asako as well? Thank you for raising Papa. If it wasn't for you, I don't think Papa and I would have met. So thank you. Makina's softly mumbled words hit me harder than I'd expected. Asako, you moved on and left me behind. You did enough. You accomplished the job you were here to do. That's why you were allowed to die. I haven't earned that right yet, but I'll get there someday. I know I will. Actually, no, it's still the same one. The gravestone offers no reply to my silent question. I know perfectly well that this entire ceremony is nothing but a way for those left behind to find something like comfort. But I can still feel heat spreading behind my eyelids. Alright, I'm hungry. Wanna eat? Let's get some grub! So we go back to the cabin. As twilight gives way to darkness, I twist open the propane stopcock, then leave the bathwater to heat as I begin preparing dinner. But of course, the fridge is a barren wasteland, and the vegetable garden out behind the shed has run wild with weeds. Our only viable provisions at the moment would be the stores of vacuum-packed instant rice and the canned salmon piled up in the shed. Can't manage much other than gruel or fried rice with this. I also found some pasta under the kitchen sink. Pasta? Oh, those are actually straight ramen noodles. Completely forgot we had that stuff. The packages Makina misidentified as pasta contained long strands of dried instant ramen noodles. We used to have these stashed all over the place, and the Hakata pork bones flavor in particular is one of Asako's favorite foods. After a few beers, she'd almost always devour a bowl of ramen heaping with vegetables. That brings me back. Asako used to make these for me all the time when she got drunk. Normally you're supposed to boil these for 3 minutes, but Asako opted for a 60-second stir-fry in a pan. She focused mainly on eating toppings, picking out a well-simmered noodle only every once in a while. Makina, you haven't tried these before, have you? Want to have some? Yeah, let me at them! That said, we got nothing in the way of toppings. Can't hope to imitate the Asako-style tower of fried bean sprouts and cabbage doused in vegetable oil. Fortunately enough, we do discover dry chives and roasted sesame seeds under the sink. If not, red pickled ginger or strips of pork. It's a little more than plain ramen, but in combination with the fried rice, we've got at least a somewhat respectable-looking meal on our table 15 minutes later. Rather than dinner, it does seem a little more than an oversized midnight snack, but perhaps owing to Amane's strong anti-instant ideological learnings, Makina seems to find some novelty value in the meal. Gobbles down the ramen in the blink of an eye, yelping delicious. By the time we finish with this somewhat rough supper, the hour hand on the clock's turned past 8. Returning to Mihama at this hour would be far too troublesome, and more than anything else I'm concerned about the danger Makina might fall asleep in the back seat and slip right off. It'd clearly be best to set up camp in the cabin for the night, then make our way back tomorrow morning. Her belly full, Makina has already begun to mumble incoherently on the verge of sleep. I holler to her feet and unceremoniously strip off her clothes, then launch her into the bath with a kick to the rear, tossing her dirty half into the beat-up old washer-dryer just outside the bathroom door. You still awake in there? As I'm transferring her wet clothes to the dryer half of the machine, I call out to Makina for the 3rd time in the last 10 minutes. Last thing I need is the girl falling asleep in the tub and drowning herself. As I strain my ears, I can make out the sound of Makina splashing around washing her body, as well as her cheerful rendition of Tuna Fish Man's theme song, which mainly involves yowling Maguro Man fighting for justice, repeatedly in a jumble of English and Japanese. But seriously, is that ghastly human-tuna hybrid really supposed to be a superhero? Just seeing the character without any context, I'm pretty sure I would have pegged him as Hideous Monster of the Week rather than the protagonist. But then again, the world's a place of constant change. Maybe the children of the world have acquired a taste for the avant-garde in their Saturday morning entertainment? Either way, it still seems like I got a lot to learn. When Makina gets out of the bath, I wrap a white towel snugly around her head and twist it back and forth until her hair's dry. Then slip an old Oxford shirt from my days as a student in America onto her as a temporary substitute for her clothes. Naked except for a long-sleeved man's dress shirt several sizes too large, Makina begins loosely bending her waist back and forth like a patient suffering amoebic dysentery. She then coos "ooh la la" in a high-pitched tone. What you think? Sexy enough for you? Wait, where's the shirt? I don't see the shirt. Alright, wait here. I'll get a dictionary so you can take a careful look at the definition of the word sexy. Would it kill you to at least pretend to be a little beguiled? Whatever, my fault. I pride myself on my sincerity towards women. Before a bath, Makina's eyelids seem to have grown about as heavy as lead, but the hot water seems to have given her something of a second wind. It takes a little doing to get her crammed into bed. Although she nods off easily enough in the middle of the day, the girl also has a habit of refusing to fall asleep when you actually want her to. Normally I could leave this up to Amane, but that's obviously not an option today. Fortunately, no matter how much Makina grumbles about not being sleepy yet, when I forcibly scoop her up, she always sees the struggle and wraps her arms around my neck. Basically, this girl's just scared of going to bed alone. After that, it's a simple matter of depositing her in bed and holding her hand for the 30 minutes or so until she falls asleep in earnest. When I lift Makina's small body in my arms, I'm struck by the scent of a familiar shampoo, mingling with the subtly feminine smell of her skin. It reminds me so strongly of Asako that I actually started a little in surprise. Hey, Papa. Will you continue that story from before? Which one was I telling you again? The one from where you were living in America and you made a bet with a friend about hitting the target from 180 meters. What? Again? I've already told you that one 3 times today. I want to hear it one more time. I know when that Field of Fire 15 centimeter story from when you were hiking with everybody. You really like this stuff for some reason, don't you? I'm not sure why she finds this sort of thing so interesting, but Makina's burning to hear my stories lately. The flower pot, the cat, and the severed head. His name was Ryback. Unlucky Zippo. Where's the telephone? Atu Island. From this fairly well-varied assortment of anecdotes, there's one in particular that's clearly become the girl's favorite. Specifically, 180 meters from scrubbing the John. Right, so this was back when I was 14 years old, attending Uncle Sam's school in America. One day I ended up making a bet with a classmate. I'd been distinguishing myself as a sniper at the time, and this particular classmate kept coming with me with this stupid line. What's with this rifle specialty? Isn't your name Uzi? Not only did I not fight back, I didn't show the slightest sign of irritation to this stupid joke, which eventually pissed my classmate off pretty badly. They ended up challenging me to a bet, hoping to knock me down a peg. I had to land a shot on a can of tomatoes from 200 yards. It sounded pretty damn pointless, so I refused to play along at first, but when my classmate offered to take over a week's worth of laundry duty if I won, my perspective on the matter changed. After managing to bargain my way up to 3 shots, I ultimately accepted the bet, but there was one major problem: the rifle I had to use. At the time, I didn't have authorization to use anything but the small bore in its .22 caliber rounds. So inevitably, the gun I was using for this bet was just such a .22 LR bolt-action rifle. Normally speaking, you want to be firing a small bore rifle at 25 to 50 meters. The bullet itself can travel a good 1600, but the effective range normally maxes out at less than 100. Not only was I using this thing for a shot from 200 yards, or slightly over 182 meters, it was taking place outside where I'd have to deal with wind. Felt like pretty shitty odds, but on the second round I managed a solid hit. Naturally, that meant I was the winner of our bet, but unfortunately, one of the instructors found out I'd taken the rifle without permission. So instead of a laundry-free week of leisure, I ended up ordered to scrub latrines until shit smelled like daisies. But apparently the tomato can I shot is still enshrined in the school cafeteria along with photographic evidence. I'm not trying to get all nostalgic about my wild youth or whatever, but I can't help smiling a little wryly. More my inability to tell Makina a halfway decent bedtime story than anything else. But when I finally snapped back to reality, I realized that Makina's closed her eyes and begun mumbling in her sleep. The lengthy trip and waiting in the sun must have tired her out after all. Feeling more than a little relieved, I quietly leave the cabin with my cell phone in hand. Although there is a tower relatively close by, the signal's not particularly good inside the cabin itself. I walk off a little ways until the meter at the top of my screen displays 3 bars. Then call up the contacts list and select Komine-sachi's name. After about 3 rings, she picks up the phone and instantly, not even bothering to say hello, she begins hurling questions at me. Is that you, Kazami-san? May I inquire as to your current location? I made several attempts to contact you recently, but... Ah, sorry. The reception's not so great out here. You're out very late. Everyone's been rather worried. Do you have any idea when you might be returning? About that, we're actually still in Yamanashi. Makina's already fallen asleep. So for tonight, we're going to stay out here, then head back tomorrow around noon. The 2 of you are staying over? Sorry for the trouble, but would you mind looking after Makina's crawfish and apple seedling while we're away? You're staying over?! Oh no, the signal's fine. I could hear it the first time. No need to repeat the question 20 decibels louder. Huh? What? Did you just say staying over? You did, right? What's going on? Are they staying in a hotel? They're shacked up in a love hotel and they're not coming back till they run out of rubbers? Is that it? That's totally it! Yuji, you beast! You beast! See now, look what you've done. That noisy blonde's in full squawk. I do apologize, but could you please wait a moment? No problem, I guess. Huh? Hey Sachi, what was that sound? My apologies, Kazami-san. I had Michiru-sama calm down a little. There shouldn't be any further issues. What did you just club her over the head with? Sorry for the hassle. Did Sachi literally just go, walk up to her, and break a vase over her head to knock her out? Yeah, we should be back tomorrow afternoon, so I doubt it'll be a problem, but I'd appreciate it if you just keep an eye on them. Understood. Leave everything to me, Kazami-san. Please take your time and enjoy a relaxed, careful return trip. Thanks. I'll make sure to bring you some hocho and black honey rice cakes as a souvenir. And also, I'm rather hesitant to say this, as it may seem forward. Well, I do hope you'll try to be conscientious in regards to contraception, at least. Not to worry, I picked up a 24-pack of rubbers on the way over. Oh, they're gonna do it, actually. Oh, it's a joke. Don't climb up on me. Yes, but please be careful about the 25th round. I'm telling you, it was a joke. I'm not going to do anything. In the first place, Makina's already asleep, remember? You intend to jam in as she slumbers? You're really determined about this, aren't you? It's a joke, Kazami-style humor, yes? I'm going to hang up now. What's going on with that girl? I feel like there's a lot more venom in her tongue lately. And her problem-solving's definitely getting a little on the violent side. Amani and Mitsuru seem to think that it's entirely my fault, but I don't remember giving Sachi any orders to act like this. In fact, to make every effort to only give her strictly appropriate instructions. I'll come to think of it. There was that one incident the other day. I was telling Makina another of my stories, and paused to note the most efficient ways to help a panicked officer cadet regain presence of mind in the foxhole. Sachi, who'd been listening, nodded with deep conviction and commented, I see. In other words, blunt weapons are the best medicine for derangement? Surely unrelated, but just another example of the female need to blame every problem on a man. This sort of unfounded generalizing is probably exactly the kind of thing that turns women against us. But it helps me regain the necessary composure to make my second call. I choose Amani's number and return the phone to my ear. A completely unfamiliar woman's voice answers the phone. Yes, hello. Who is it? Who the hell are you supposed to be? I pull the phone away from my ear and double-check the screen, but I'm definitely connected to the number marked Suo Amane. Oh, that's scary. He got hella mad for some reason. Whatever shall I do? Ah, what the? Stop it! That's my cell phone, isn't it? Give it back! Sorry about that, Romeo. I'll return Amane to you now. Hello. Huh? Who is it? Yuji? Who the hell was that woman? Sorry. I'm in a karaoke place with some friends from around here. Guess they saw a guy's name show up on my phone and decided to play a dumb prank. You people aren't dabbling in hard drugs, are you? Of course not. I mean, hold on. What's this about? You almost never call me. Did something happen? Yuji! I love you! Alright, jeez, can you please just shut up for a minute? Amane, my friend. I prescribe a dose of blunt weaponry to the head. Huh? What are you talking about? Hold on a second. I'm leaving the room now. On the other side of the line, I hear the sound of Amane opening a door and a chorus of shrill voices hooting at her. Sorry about that. So what's up? Struck by a sudden urge to hear my voice or something? Yeah, that's right. I just had to hear that voice of yours, so I couldn't help giving you a call. Did I make a nuisance of myself? Not really, but... Alright then, enough joking around. Let's get to the main topic. Here's the thing, Amane. Maka and I are currently in Yamanashi. Excuse me? Why Yamanashi? Oh right, you're visiting that grave? That's right. Came up with the idea pretty suddenly after we saw you off this morning. I borrowed your Bobotaro for the trip. Oh, Bobotaro actually got you out there? Yeah. You've been having trouble with the engine suddenly dying on you at random times, right? The CDI is probably the issue. It's not that I really know what the CDI is. You're riding a hot rod and you don't even know that much. It's not like I'm the one who remodeled it, you know. Heck, that's how I bought it from that dealer. What kind of store would sell a ridiculous lowrider like that? I got my license when I was 16, then just dropped by the neighborhood motorcycle shop to see if they had anything decent. And one of their employees just happened to be switching to this big hog. They offered to cut me a pretty nice deal on the old bike, so I ended up buying it without thinking it over. But anyway, I'm glad you figured it out. The engine kept going thump and dying while I was waiting for a light to change or whatever. Wouldn't start back up unless I let it cool for 30 minutes, you know? It was a huge pain. The wirings inside the CDI is probably swelling from the heat, disconnecting it temporarily. How much would it take to fix, you think? I'm not a motorcycle mechanic, and I can't tell you that much. I'm okay with you boring Babataro, so just make sure you ride him nice and carefully, alright? I won't do anything stupid. How's Makina? She eating properly? Let's see, for lunch we had cinnamon rolls and pumpkin bread Makina baked. Dinner was ramen and fried rice. Oh, come on, you didn't eat any vegetables at all? You just promised me this morning. Sorry, I'll make sure to feed her something green tomorrow. Make sure she eats 3 meals a day and don't let her snack after 8 at night. What? Is she some kind of magical gremlin? Well, whatever. I'll be careful. If anything does come up, you'll be the first to know. Got it. Take her on the way back, okay? Don't let Makina get hurt. Alright then, good night. Spare me, I got enough lectures in my waking hours. Alright then, that just leaves. JB. I'm unable to answer the phone at the moment. Please leave your name and message after the beep. What's this? You burning the midnight oil over there? Kazami Yuji and Irisu Makina. Status normal. My current location is Asako's cabin in Yamanashi. Scheduled to return to post by 1200 hours tomorrow. End of message. After recording this extremely concise summary of the necessary information, I'm just on the verge of hanging up when I reflexively hesitate. After a moment's pause, I return the receiver to my mouth once more. Night, Julia. The hour being what it is, recording a little extra in the way of pleasantries shouldn't cause any issues. My message complete, I hang up and finally snap the phone shut. As I slide the cell phone back in my pocket, a sigh spills unprompted out of my mouth. In the isolated mountain night, the only sounds are the rustling of trees in the wind and the chirping of insects reveling in summer. I don't mind not hearing people or their machines in the least, but the bugs are fairly noisy in their own right. That said, it just makes you feel anxious when things get too quiet. Human beings are pretty hard to please. Hearing nothing but the sounds you make yourself is a genuinely terrifying thing. There was a time years ago when I woke up half buried under a pile of soil and sand. Better still, I couldn't remember how I'd come to be there. I must have stayed there for a good 3 minutes before finally recalling that a field artillery shot landed nearby. Pushed away violently by the man behind me, I had fallen roughly into my foxhole as dirt rained down. When I crawled up out of the hole, I noticed that my eardrums were malfunctioning badly. I couldn't hear a thing other than the high-pitched ringing sound. It was the middle of the night, so my field of vision was just as poor. The small slivers of moonlight trickling through the trees above weren't enough to make out any movement around me. The fear that had been swirling around my gut became a cold dread, creeping slowly up my spine. I felt like I might be the only person on Earth, as if I felt that I'd been left behind on a dead and empty husk of a world. The night can be very dark sometimes. When I'm facing it alone, I always remember that moment. Asako. Looking up into the sky, I hear her name slip out of my mouth. Just how long am I planning to drag her memory around like a ball and chain? It's not like Asako wanted that herself. She told me flat out, didn't she? If I die, forget about me within a year. It's been a year and a half. I should have forgotten her completely by now. I promised I would. But it's hard. Asako. Being alone. Stop sniveling and grow a pair. You have somewhere to protect now, don't you? I can almost hear the words, feel the slap upside the head, but she's no longer here to deliver them. The next day, just as scheduled, Maka and I returned to the Mihama Academy dorm a little before noon. Although the total length of our trip was barely more than a day, for Makina it seems to have qualified as a genuine adventure. From the moment she woke up this morning, the girl was even more hyper than usual. She insisted that just heading back wouldn't be no fun, so after I deposited her in the tandem seat, we had a quick breakfast of dried fish in a diner open early for the local fishermen, then drove around on a lightning tour of the major local sightseeing points. We eventually winded our way leisurely back while taking frequent breaks. So I'm deeply ashamed to announce I have returned! I don't understand what you're supposed to be ashamed about. And it's not like we went to Guam or something, you know? Welcome back. Yeah, we're home. Were you able to visit the grave? How was your trip? It was fun. We dropped by Mount Tapachao on the way back, too. The view was the very picture of picturesquity. That's in Saipan. You climbed Mount Fuji, and we only made it as far as the 5th station. For souvenirs, I got y'all some chocolate macadamia nuts. Nibble away at them to your heart's content, everyone! Now it's Hawaii? Incidentally, the things you're waving around with a giant grin on your face are rice cakes with black honey. How far did you end up going exactly? Oceania? Alright! I'm now Oceaniac Man! Morphin time! Oceaniac Man? Don't start morphing into abstract geopolitical constructs! I see you're back. Hey, Yumi-chan. I'm deeply ashamed to announce that I've returned. I heard you the first time. Solomon, I have... Yes, yes. Kindly keep the nuclear weaponry to yourself. Bombarded by Makina's raw energy, elevated beyond baseline levels into something perilously close to a frenzy, Sakaki sighs heavily. Her expression vaguely gloomy. I can practically see the words of the return of the troublemaker rising up her throat, only to be forced back down through an effort of will. Yesterday was such a peaceful day. Oh, Debug's now playing something. Do you really gotta mumble all that wistfully while staring off into the distance? Will you people please shut up? I've got a killer headache, so keep it down. I think I know why. Oh, you got a hangover, Chirichiru? No, I don't know what it is, but my head's throbbing today. And my memories from last night are kind of vague for some reason. Perhaps you overtax yourself with excessive studying? Please do take good care of your head. It'll last a lifetime if you're careful with it. Is something the matter? No, just wondering where to begin jabbing at that. I mean, the idea of Michiru studying is enough to make you die laughing. And if your head ever stops functioning, your life's over. So the second part of the sentence is a meaningless truism. But first and foremost, you're the one who judged that deranged blonde to be a threat and subdued with her blunt force. If you have your heart absolutely set on jabbing at me, I will endure your thrusts bravely, but if possible, I would appreciate it if you could restrain yourself. I see. At times it's hard being a man. What are you guys even talking about? A man who wants to jab and a woman who doesn't want to be jabbed. You can't always get what you want. I don't really get it, but anyway, keep it down out here. I mean, what's with you anyway? You seem weirdly fired up. Seems I put the girl to bed too early last night. She woke up at 4:30 in the morning today. Didn't seem like she was going back to bed anytime soon, so I ended up leaving a little earlier than planned. We improvised a half-assed little sightseeing tour on the way back. I ain't slept much, so I'm riding the high. The lingering thrill of the trip itself hasn't quite worn off yet. Remembering that it was fun, she seems to have completely forgotten exactly what you saw, much like an elementary school child returning from a field trip. Talk about rude. Who went to the mountains and lakes and all that? So there. Alright then, what mountain did you climb and what lake did you see? Can you name them? Mount Apple and Lake Titicaca? Once again, Makina's slippers squeak with unnaturally convenient timing. What did you just say? Such courage to request a repetition. You averted my admiration, Michiru-sama. Close, but no. They're both the tallest mountains in their countries, but that one's in the Philippines. Also, I don't remember taking you all the way to South America. By the way, that lake really exists, so there's no need for the slipper squeaking. How are those close in the slightest? More importantly, Irusu-san, might that slip of the tongue have been intentional? Taketish! Just a little flub, don't you know? A Kumamoto accent? Well, I don't know. Maybe this is a bit of a rebound? What the heck does that mean? Even Makina wouldn't run around shrieking on a visit to a grave. Maybe this is just the recoil from all that time she spent actually behaving herself. Then again, I did see a new side of her, so maybe the whole hyperact is an attempt at hiding her embarrassment. Don't go saying stuff like that, okay? I got a rep to maintain here. In any case, I'm glad we got back in one piece. Seems though you're rather tired. Won't deny I'm worn out. I couldn't quite stomach taking that thing onto the expressway, so I came all the way back on local roads. That probably contributed to the fatigue as well. For the moment, why not head into the bath and relax a little? I'm gonna take a go soak and get a little sleep myself. Hold on, don't you have your part-time job this afternoon? Indeed! Gotta be there at 2 in the afternoon, so wake him up at 1, Sachin. 1 in the afternoon it shall be. To be honest, I wasn't able to get much rest at all last night. I've had a surprising string of days recently where I've managed to get a solid 8 hours of sleep, so I'd almost start to forget. How long have I been live, actually? Let me check. 2 hours and 40 minutes. I've just been pulling the extra weight this stream, trying to catch up on missed live streams. Because I didn't really stream this in over a little over 2 months, so I'm trying to just catch up on missed content. Practically the moment my eyes closed, some tense cord snaps inside me at last, and I tumbled down to unconsciousness. When I heard about the bombing, the sky outside had already grown pink, and the cries of cicadas were beginning to cool down the scorched earth. With a few hours of deep and dreamless sleep behind me, I walk out into the lobby, trying to shake off the slight lingering heaviness in the core of my head. Encounter Sakaki there, glued to the television, and receive the unexpected news that a bombing has taken place in the vicinity of Makina Cape Station. According to the news program she's watching, an automobile parked by the road in the shopping district abruptly exploded around 6 this evening. Well, that's not what I need to know right now. And is Makina alright? She was apparently quite close by, but it seems that she wasn't harmed. However, the girl was acting a little strangely. Most likely she witnessed something rather terrible. It must have been a bit of a shock. And where is she now? Lying down in Suo-san's room with Kamine-san attending to her. It would be best to leave her for the moment. Alright. Word bombing means it wasn't an accident. It looks like the vehicle that exploded was a standard-sized passenger automobile. But from the low-resolution images on the television news program, it's not possible to identify the model or brand. However, Sakaki's clicking away at her notebook PC as we're watching the show and eventually finds a better quality photograph taken at the scene of the internet. Through that, we're able to establish it was a German luxury car. The vehicle completely flipped over from the force of the explosives, but as a rule, German automobiles are built sturdy. The body itself may be damaged beyond the point of repair, but the cabin wasn't crushed or deformed. At a glance, I'm willing to bet they used Semtex, and the explosion clearly occurred underneath the car. Since the interior of the car itself wasn't blown apart, it seems likely that they used a shaped charge deliberately set to flip the entire thing over. That would seem to suggest they didn't know ahead of time what seat their target would be using, given such extensive damage to the entire vehicle, even if the cabin remained intact. There's no guarantee anyone would get out of the ensuing fire alive. I did mention that this incident is connected to Irisu-san, yes? Yeah. That wasn't just a reference to the fact that she happened to witness the incident. Her family are deeply involved in the bombing itself. Should've known. The car that exploded belonged to her family. The two individuals inside were a chauffeur in the driver's seat and a member of the Irisu clan in the back. Who was it? Irisu Sarina. Irisu Makina's younger sister. Her younger sister? But why is she even... You've heard of that new fashion building currently under construction to the south of Mishima Cape Station, yes? That one was supposed to open before summer vacation, but ended up getting delayed? From what she told me, the place was going to be something like a mall focusing on high fashion. Numerous brands had signed on as tenants, along with restaurants and a movie theater. In particular, there were some foreign boutiques that would be launching their first stores in Japan there, so its upcoming opening was apparently generating some real buzz. There was a lot of going on behind the scenes with that delay, but I think it's safe to assume that has nothing to do with this incident. Irisu-san's sister came here to shop at a certain boutique before its official opening. She was apparently returning from that visit when the bombing occurred. Why do you know so much about this? Are you familiar with set it thief to catch a thief? I know what that phrase means. Not what I meant. There's an online members-only information exchange by that name. The information we're discussing now, as well as the photograph of the scene I showed you earlier, came from there. I see. JB's registered on a similar site, actually. It's impossible to join without the recommendation of an existing member. A new account is in the tens of millions of yen. Tens of millions, so you mean hundreds of thousands of dollars, roughly? Monthly fees in the millions, so like about, like, 10 grand-ish a month. Tens of thousands per month, plus like the hundreds of thousands. Wow. Ridiculous charges? That's an understatement. Come to think of it, it's a little disturbing that this girl already has a membership to a site like that at her age. Well, I think Yumiko's, I don't know, 16 and she has an account on that site? So this chick has like hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on this site. Of course, there is a limit to what you can learn there. And the information I can afford in my pocket might doesn't amount to much. It seems reasonable to conclude that something may have taken place within Arisu-san's family. What's that something supposed to be? I wouldn't be beating around the bush like this if I knew. Nothing but speculation on my part, but I can't help thinking of the kidnapping that ended with Arisu-san driven out of her home. Perhaps the matter with the nuclear power plant that triggered that incident is still moving under the surface of the water. Hold on, Sakaki. You knew about Makina's kidnapping? A rough synopsis, at least. I didn't investigate out of lurid curiosity. My family wasn't completely unconnected to the matter either. But I hadn't heard it was connected to a nuclear power plant. Makina's father was an accountant at the Ministry of Defense, wasn't he? How's that tie together? And where'd you get that information? A superior at my part-time job. I think I can make a few rough guesses about the nature of this job of yours as well. But I suppose it would be best not to ask the particulars, yes? That would be appreciated. Also, nothing but a part-timer. Try to keep that in mind. Well, in any case. At the moment, I suppose we should be worrying about what Arisu-san witnessed and how it concerns her. Leave the rest aside for now. There's a sickening swell of uneasiness rising in my chest. What the hell is this? What's going on? Maki-chan has finally fallen asleep. Is it alright to leave her alone? At the moment she's sleeping quite deeply, Michiru-sama is by her side. I don't believe there's any reason to be concerned. What exactly happened? Did she tell you anything? It was enough to make me realize how very little I really knew about Maki-chan. Why was Makina on the scene of the bombing in the first place? She simply happened to be passing by on a broad delivery to a hotel and coffee shop in the area. Makina was cheerfully humming her way down the street in front of the station. Bags of fresh bread. Oh, so this was related to her job, wasn't it? So she was just doing her job and then the bombing occurred. When she casually glanced up to find its source, Makina discovered that the voice belonged to a girl about her own age. The girl was walking down the sidewalk in the opposite direction, a man in a black suit following closely behind like an escort. Makina recognized that girl at once. It was her little sister. When the psychological trauma of Makina's kidnapping had left her unable to handle even the demands of everyday life, this girl had taken her place as the future leader of their clan. Although Makina thought of her as a sister, their fathers were different. She was the product of a lengthy tryst between Makina's mother and a man from the Branch family. Unlike Makina, who took after her father with a round chubby face, her sister's features had always been more refined, strongly resembling their mother. As a child, Makina had been envious of her appearance, but today that shapely face was contorted in irritation, an expression that spoke of stress and deep-rooted frustration. We have informed them beforehand that I'd be coming, and told them exactly what I want to purchase, correct? Why on earth didn't they have the correct size? Are they not interested in actually selling their products? Or was this just a personal insult to me? I sincerely apologize. Our advance notice was inaccurately detailed. We'll have it delivered to the residence tomorrow, so please try to pardon the blunder. As the voices drew closer, Makina reflexively hid herself in the shadows. It was an old habit. If Makina hadn't taken ill, her sister never would have been placed in her current position. She'd probably be living normally in the Branch family even now. At first glance, this pampered, ultra-privileged lifestyle might seem preferable to that. However, Makina had learned from Kazami Yuji that a life totally free of inconvenience only hinders your growth as an individual. And today, she couldn't see the girl in front of her as anything but an unfortunate, robbed of dreams, hopes, and freedom in exchange for empty luxury. She felt a twinge of something very much like pity. Makina had been the same way once. It was only after her arrival in Mihama that she came to understand the virtues of a normal existence. Biting her lower lip, she whispered a sympathetic apology inside her mind. I'm sorry, Sachin. Makina first learned that she had a little sister when she was 5 years old. As the eldest daughter of the family's head, she had been raised as an only child, but when she learned that her mother had borne a child to the branch's family's second son only a year after her own birth, she was genuinely happy. At the time, Makina didn't really understand the implications of her mother giving birth to a child of a man other than her husband. It's a really complex family, isn't it? The child of a man other than her husband, so... Sarina has a different father. So Sarina's father could still be alive. I know Makina's is dead. Makina's is dead, Sarina's might still be alive. And the reasons why that child couldn't enter the main family or even meet her older sister were equally mystifying. In the first place, Makina wouldn't have even learned her sister's existence if not for Butler's careless slip of the tongue. Yeah, having a sister not even knowing she would exist. Definitely, like, not your normal family. Every once in a while, she would pay her sister stealthy visits, observing her life from afar. Every time she spotted on that little girl living a normal life as a member of the Branch family, the knowledge that she had a sibling grew more real to her. Many times, Makina would come to the verge of calling out to her, only to hold back at the last moment. Looking at her sister clinging affectionately to her stepmother's waist, innocently begging her mommy for some treat, Makina knew the sudden arrival of a big sister could very well shatter the girl's peaceful family. She could never bring herself to take that risk, but Makina didn't stop taking the time to go see her sister. Eventually, she invented a nickname for the girl she'd never spoken to, developing a one-side, make-believe relationship. Even the day she was kidnapped, just before going to her language class at cramp school, she'd been secretly watching her little sister from inside her chauffeured car. And that was the last time Makina had seen her sister. Only hours later, she was kidnapped. Her father was killed before her eyes, and she was consigned to a life in the hospital that would last many years. Makina knew the girl was her little sister, but the girl didn't know her. There was no real reason she had to hide. After a moment's hesitation, she emerged from her hiding place, resettling the bread in her arms, and just as she'd done in the old days when in a slightly playful mood, she carefully forced a nonchalant expression onto her face and began to walk toward her sister. Rudely indiscriminate shopping spree on Sarina's part. The trip was probably less about buying clothes than it was venting built-up stress from the heavy responsibilities and expectations placed on the family's future leader. Makina remembered doing something very similar herself, even as a child. Been a while, huh? As they walked past each other on the sidewalk, Makina offered his sister a silent greeting inside her mind. They had passed each other by like this numerous times before, although only Makina knew it. Every time, it felt as though the words "I'm your big sister" would slip out of her mouth. But they could never make it past the tip of her tongue, and today was no different. It just wasn't a possibility. Her sister's current position was founded on her absence. For another thing, Sarina had been almost certainly told she was dead. Even if it was permitted, Makina wouldn't know how to begin speaking to her, let alone what they could talk about. Makina glanced over her shoulder, catching a glimpse of her sister being helped into a sleek black car stopped by the side of the road. It was reassuring to see her sister was being taken care of, but that thought reminded Makina that she herself no longer had a place in the house she was born into. She couldn't help feel a slight prick of sadness. But today, she had a hard-won family of her own, the students at Mihama. They'd given her things her real family never could. Makina clutched the warm bread against her chest and drew a deep breath, drinking up the comforting scent of wheat. A small smile spread across her face. Once this delivery was over, the day's work would be done. She wanted to run home and save everyone, to give Amani a call in Tokyo. Buoyed by those thoughts, she took a step forward in that instant. Makina felt the flash of heat against the back of her body, almost like a burst of powerful sunlight. Before she could even flinch, a thunderous roar rattled her eardrums so harshly, it caused her physical pain. I guess even now, this would still be a time to point out the typos. I'm just really invested in what's going to happen, but I think I still have some time to point out some typos. Eardums. Missing R. A fraction of a second later, fine particles of something like sand swept violently past her. So was Sarina in the car as it exploded, so is Sarina now dead? So was Sarina supposed to be the heiress of the Irisu clan, but for some reason she was killed off too because maybe someone else wants to be heiress of the clan? Maybe? Maybe someone wanted to take the power from Sarina, so they had her killed? And now we'll never get to speak to Sarina because she's fucking dead? With a strangled half-scream, Makina squeezed her eyes shut just before the massive wave of heat knocked her down to the sidewalk. For a moment, she couldn't process what had just happened. I'm gonna guess Sarina's dead. I don't know for sure, but I think she died. I think her younger sister died. Explosion? It took a full 2 seconds for those words to float to the surface of Makina's mind. She picked herself onto her knees, disbelieving, telling herself it couldn't be. But when she turned around, she came face to face with harsh, undeniable reality. Her dumbfounded gaze found the luxury black sedan her sister had stepped into moments before was lying upside down, all but consumed in bright red flames. No, this can't be real. This time her mind couldn't catch up at all. She didn't want it to. She didn't want to accept the reality before her eyes. Just a moment ago, she'd seen her sister from the side, a slightly irritated expression on her face, so close she could have reached out and touched her. Many thoughts were circling frantically around inside her head, as her mind tried desperately to make something like sense out of this situation, but it was all fragments. Nonsense. Noise. There were no answers she could accept. Somebody was yelling into her ear. She could understand it was the voice of someone who was worried about her. Still sitting there glued to the ground, but she couldn't muster the focus to decipher their words, much less respond to them. Makina didn't move an inch from that spot until at last the voice said, "We need to get out of here," and firm hands pulled her to her feet. Thankfully, the owner of the nearby greengrocers brought Maki-chan back to the dormitory. Apparently he tried to bring her to the hospital at first, but she resisted the idea so fiercely, because of course she would, she's already been there for 6 years, that he ended up taking her here. She's not physically injured, right? That's correct. There's a light burn on her right arm, but it's essentially just a patch of tender red skin. It should disappear quickly when cooled, however. The psychological damage is going to be more severe, of course. At times like these, I can't help but realize how powerless I really am. Sakaki's words express my current feelings to the letter. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm supposed to talk to her. I don't even know what sort of expression I should have on my face when I go see her. Approach this the wrong way, and I might well end up making things even worse. Thoughts like these rob us of the ability to even try. But I suppose there is only one thing I can do, small as it may be. It seems Rusu Makina was mixed up in the trouble, yes? I'm guessing what, call JB? You're on top of these things as always. Where'd you hear about that? Are you familiar with Set a Thief to Catch a Thief? Yeah, I am. It's a membership-based information exchange where your sort of people gather, right? Almost 3 hours I've been live. I've really been trying to catch up. Why do you actually know that? Hold Tocho, I really can't let my guard down around you for a minute. I've really been trying to catch up with Ruta Grisaia. And now shit's actually starting to hit the fan here. How much information did you gather over there? As we reach Gaia, we're essentially in wait-and-see mode. Not even on the alert yet. Does that mean there's a possibility of initiating an active observation in the future? You don't need to know that. Julia. The sweet-talking voice isn't going to work this time. Can I come to your place tonight? No. I just want to have some of your home cooking for the first time in a while. Still no good? Say anything you want, the answer is still no. When you refuse me that stubbornly, it's as good as admitting there's a high chance the problem's gonna get worse. Does this have anything to do with you not picking up your phone lately? The news shows seem to be pushing a theory that this was an act of terrorism motivated by the construction of a nuclear power plant. What's the real story? I can't answer that question. Maybe I can, though. Maybe it's some power struggle within the Irisu clan itself. Maybe there's someone else who wants to become heiress of the clan, so obviously the best solution is to kill off the current heiress. Well, it's the most effective solution, but it's the least inhumane. Kill off the person who's going to inherit all that power so you can take it yourself. That's a guess. Someone else wants that power, so they killed Sarina for it. How is Makina's younger sister doing? She's dead. Oh! Alive! Things are very touch and go. Oh, I thought she was dead. Sorry, but I just don't know. Seems she may need skin grafts and organ transplants. There's a rumor she'll be transported overseas to wait for a donor as soon as she stabilizes. I see. Are those your only questions? So she may not be dead after all. Okay. I thought she was dead. If Makina's sister ends up losing her current position due to her injuries, is there a possibility Makina will be expected to resume that role? I don't care to answer that question. I'm gonna guess no, right? Is there a possibility Makina is going to be in danger going forward? Usually, just how much have you dug up about this? Essentially nothing. My nose is just twitching, that's all. It was basically a leading question. I suppose it would be problematic if you ended up taking ill-advised actions based off speculation. There's a very real possibility Irisu Makina will be in danger. I would estimate a 70% chance she's going to be brought into this in some way. That said, I'm almost certainly going to be contacting you in regards to this matter very soon. For now, kindly refrain from doing anything stupid. Stand by and wait for your orders as always. In other words, no independent use of force outside the range of self-defense. Can I really trust you on this? Don't mistrust your master is the most fundamental prerequisite of a good dog. Even Asako knew that. You could count the number of times he outright ignored orders on your fingers. Try counting them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're running out of fingers fast. Shut up, alright? Imitating that woman is an extremely poor life strategy. Just behave yourself until you get your orders, understood? We clear? Yes, Mommy. I don't remember giving birth to a nasty child like you. Are we done now? I'm hanging up. Yeah, thanks. I'll be in touch. Well then, what to do? It's clear that things are going to get troublesome in a number of ways, but I'm always in the dark on the specific details. It's probably gonna get worse, isn't it? Makina just saw her sister get into a car that was bombed, and now the sister's... I thought for sure she was a goner, but apparently she's still somehow maybe gonna be alive. And it's going to get worse. It's gonna get worse, probably. I can guarantee you that much. We're probably gonna go deeper down the rabbit hole on this one. Probably looking at a real interesting, thrilling crime drama here. For now, it might be wisest just to stay at Makina's side as much as possible, while preparing myself for the possibility of an emergency. There's no need to overthink this. I know what I want to protect. I can see it clearly now. Ideally, I'd love to extinguish the source of this fire before the sparks spread in our direction, but if that's not a possibility, I just need to be ready for when things do get ugly. After all, you won't find many guard dogs with nastier fangs than mine. I've been sharpening these teeth for a very long time for this exact purpose. Teeth made to catch prey by the tail, drag them close, and rip out the windpipe in one bite. Although hearing of her sister's survival calmed Makina down significantly, the events of yesterday are still painfully fresh in her mind. She shows a brave attempt at a smile, but can't hide the weariness beneath it. When the girl declares herself uninterested in breakfast, I enlist Sachi's assistance. And together we prepare a unique but nutritious macro pumpkin soup from Mani's recipe notebook. Makina refuses the meal with an almost frightened expression on her face, so I proceed to pin her arms behind her back as our reliable maid emotionlessly crams spoonfuls of food into her mouth. Through this admirable display of teamwork, we successfully force-feed the girl the breakfast her body needs. I know it might be a little hard to eat right now, but your injuries won't heal if you don't get adequate nutrients. You're getting all worked up over nothing. It's basically just a little sunburn, you know? You were lucky this time, yes. Just be grateful that explosion didn't give you an afro. It might sound like a joke, but the hot pulse of air from an explosion burns your hair starting from the tip, sometimes curling it pretty dramatically. As a general rule, it's a good idea to brush a hand over your head when a bomb blast goes by. Often as not, cinders that used to be a part of your hair will fall off like sesame seeds from a bun. Right, why don't I teach you the anti-explosive self-defensive procedure? Wait, that's a thing? The word's got a pretty cool ring to him! Listen up, Makina. Ever heard some guy in a suit mutter it's getting dangerous these days while looking over the morning paper? It's not just the vapid catchphrase of self-satisfied middle-aged men who think they figured out how the world works. As you were reminded yesterday, there truly are countless dangers lurking all around us. When such threats arrive, they arrive suddenly, and all too often we are completely unprepared to defend ourselves. Indeed, such complacent carelessness has become an unfortunate element of our national character. This is the very reason Japan has earned the disgraceful title of pacifist patsies among the major powers. I get the feeling you're starting one of those lame rants again. Well, clam up and good, at least pretend to listen. Look, kid, even if you're thinking that sort of thing, it's better not to actually say it. What's going on with the anti-exploding? I'll now initiate the basics of personal defense against explosions. When an explosion's coming, get down first and think later. When you sense an impending explosion, get down first and think later. Indeed, go prone and get yourself as flat to the ground as you possibly can. With the exception of some specially designed charges, explosions naturally tend to direct their power upward. If there's a foxhole nearby, claim it. Doesn't matter if it's full to the brim with mixture and muddy water and excrement. Doesn't matter if your buddy's pathetic corpse is laying inside. Jump in without a moment's hesitation. Yeah, I know it has. I just really wanted to catch up on missed time because I haven't really touched this in over 2 months almost. It's been a little over 2 months, specifically 2 months and 1 day. So I've just really been trying to catch up. Jump into the foxhole without hesitating. After this, assume the anti-explosive position. There's a small flap of cartilage in front of your ear-hole called the tragus. Strongly press down on these with your thumb to protect your eardrums. Next, open your mouth wide. This reduces the burden on your eardrums and keeps your lungs from popping like balloons under the pressure of the shockwave. You've experienced for yourself just how powerful that shockwave can be, so I'm sure you can understand, but don't underestimate that pressure. When the explosion occurs indoors, it's even more powerful. If you're close to the blast, it's like being squeezed in the hand of a giant. The pain is intense. Sometimes the pressure can push your eyes clean out of their sockets. While pressing the tragus on both ears with your thumbs, use the remaining fingers to cover your eyelids. Keep your eyeballs where they belong and defend them against the flash of the explosion. Good, alright then. Next up, we're beginning image training based on a hypothetical scenario. Situation as follows. Recon mission in the subtropical jungle. The time. Dawn. Your enemies are powerful local guerrillas. They're well equipped and have excellent morale. Enter the scenario. Entering scenario! Enemy raid! At my abrupt snarl, Makina throws herself flat to the ground. The enemy have ambushed you. Your position is pinned down by machine gun fire. Don't raise your head an inch. Keep that chin nuzzling the ground and crawl along to the ground to the nearest trench visible ahead. Just as instructed. Makina creeps along the floor on her knees and elbows, clutching an imaginary rifle. A moment later, she slipped her body into the space between the bed and the table. Trench secured! As Makina screams this report, she repositions an imaginary iron helmet on her head in order to regain a clear field of vision. Not half bad. She seems to be pretty deeply into the scenario. Assume the explosive defense position. Makina promptly plugs up both her ears, opens her mouth wide, and strongly presses down on her eyelids, lowering her body as close to the ground as she can. She melds her body with the trench, tensing in preparation for the blast. You damn fool. Your rear end's sticking up into the air. Shrapnel has just robbed you of your left buttock. Get it down. Get that ass down. I vigorously trampled down on Makina's rear end to emphasize the point. Lowering ass, sir! Basic grenade technique is to throw 2-second intervals. The next one's coming. Assume the explosive defense position. Okay, kaboom! Excuse me, can you people not scream kaboom boom at the top of your lungs first thing in the morning? What are you even doing in here? Just your typical early morning anti-explosives training. If you think of it as an expression of diligent devotion to national defense, doesn't this almost bring a tear to your eye? You're welcome to join in, Michiru. What is anti-explosive training in the first place? As you know, Makina happened to be on the scene of a terror bombing yesterday afternoon. Accordingly, we're trained to deal with a similar scenario. There's no downside to acquiring as many survival skills as you can. Oh please, this is just ridiculous. Instructor, sir, I spotted a dopey dimwit who wouldn't last 5 seconds in a real emergency. Don't call me a dimwit. I'm not saying the training itself is stupid, okay? I just want to know why you have to do it so loudly. Keep it down a little. Well, that's typical Michiru for you, actually. Thought a silly over-the-top game might briefly get Makina's mind off the fact her little sister's fighting for her life, but... What the? Then why did you just remind her? Sorry about that, Makina. Michiru says we're being too noisy, so it seems we'll have to call this training off. What? It may be nothing but an innocent safety drill, but if the local civilian populace can't be convinced, we have no choice but to discontinue it. Please understand, Makina. Oh, come on. Do you have to make it sound like I'm the bad guy here? Okay then, Chiru. You want to join in too? No, that's not... I do understand what you're trying to say, Michiru. In reality, the odds of any one person encountering a dangerous explosion in their lifetime are probably fairly low. It's more likely that this training will probably end up being meaningless. But worst comes to worst, won't the people who wasted a few minutes planning for the what-ifs be the ones who get out alive? Isn't that what survival skills are? For example, Michiru, let's say you take a vacation abroad to a country where the fire laws aren't well defined or enforced. As you're gobbling down a tasty local delicacy, a fire breaks out in the crowded restaurant. As panicked customers stampede to push their way through the single doorway, you glance upward. I notice the flames slowly reaching their way to a cylinder of propane gas. What do? Think fast? Well, this is the difference between a person who's been trained and a helpless spectator. That's an awfully specific example. I'm sure most of this is going in one ear and out the other. You're probably not even taking me seriously, but even so, there's something I feel obligated to tell you. Those who laugh at the diligent self-improvement of others will end up crying in the end, without fail. Try to remember that. Hold on, was I actually wrong about this? Chiru, everybody makes mistakes, you know? Nothing to be ashamed of. When you notice one, all you need to do is correct it. It's never too late to turn your life around. Plenty of time to get back in the straight and narrow. After all, Chiru, you're still alive! What's with you? Talking all big. Don't tell me. I'm being preached at? Am I getting a life lesson? Me? From Makina? In conclusion, it doesn't matter if you approach this as a kind of game. Remembering the basic principles somewhere in the corner of your mind is good enough. Why not join our anti-explosives training, Michiru? Okay. Crazy. He made Chiru say okay. Papa's just as amazing as I thought, you know? Didn't we go over this? Even if you think stuff like that, don't actually say it. Am I being tricked here? I'm not being tricked, right? Michiru, my friend. Think this over carefully. I have no reason to deceive you. Even if I did, hypothetically, it would be the result of my concern for your well-being, you understand? Okay. Amazing. This guy's amazing! So I'm going to assume this is a different scene here, so I'm going to save here and just call it a night. So I got from Seed of the World Tree 7 to Seed of the World Tree 10. So I think I got through like 3.5 chapters in 3 hours. So I think it's safe to say I did pretty well for myself. I'm ending the stream for now. See you later. Probably not like later tonight, so I probably have other things to do. I doubt I'll get some more Castlevania 3 in tonight at this point. I mean, I just spent all of this time I really had to spare playing Grisaia.